He awakens from death itself, the memory of betrayal still burning in his mind. The one who ended his life was none other than his own sister. When he glances at the date, it reads 2025, 9 years before that tragic day. He's returned to the very moment when everything began to change. That was the year a mysterious game named Shun Q1 took the entire world by storm. The concept was terrifyingly real. When you fall asleep, you don't just dream, you're pulled into the game itself. In that alternate realm, one's lifespan becomes the sole currency of existence. Lose it, and death claims you both in-game and in reality. Yet, those who grow strong enough can manifest their in-game powers in the real world. Before long, the world descends into madness. Monsters rampage through streets once filled with life. Cities crumble, governments fall, and only the powerful manage to endure. Back in that chaos, Qin Feng, our protagonist, stood among the strongest players alive. He sacrificed everything, fighting desperately to protect the sister he adored. But she, along with her lover, repaid his devotion with deceit. They betrayed him, all for the Eye of Judgment, a divine relic said to bestow the might of the gods upon whoever wields it. Now, reborn before the catastrophe begins, Qin Feng vows never to repeat the same mistake again. This time, his life belongs to no one but himself. At the Career Choice Hall, he calmly selects the Assassin class. The moment his choice is confirmed, the Eye of Judgment stirs once more within him. It awakens something hidden, an unknown power long lost to history, a secret profession called the Shadow. Eager to test this newfound strength, he wastes no time. He heads into Shelltown, a so-called safe zone free from monsters but not from other players' blades. Around him, confusion and curiosity swirl. Newcomers still try to grasp the game's reality, while veterans attempt to decode his mysterious class. Many assume he's just another assassin. But Qin Feng knows he can't afford to wait if he intends to rise. So he leaves the safety of the town and discovers a group barely holding out against monsters. The players are drained, their lifespans nearly consumed by the relentless battle. Our boy quickly notices one among them bears a hidden class. The woman calls out, asking if he'll join forces with them. They have experience, but they can't manage alone. However, the hero coldly declines and decides to confront the monsters on his own. The archers warn him, insisting that these creatures are far too powerful, yet he doesn't falter. As he walks away, the archers exchange glances and quietly trail after him. Curiosity drives them perhaps to study his techniques, or maybe to witness his downfall firsthand. Lizzie, on the other hand, has no idea how she ended up in this world, but her years of online gaming quickly kick in, allowing her to form a small team. Unfortunately, the very first monster they face outside the beginner village annihilates them completely, only for our boy to slay the same beast effortlessly moments later. The survivors can't help but notice the anomaly that is Shadow. His attire, his weapon, his movement, all far beyond what a level 1 player should possess. As they continue to observe him from a distance, he suddenly vanishes before their eyes. They realize it must be a stealth ability, but one far too advanced for a beginner. Still, having already lost half their lifespan after dying once, they retreat to the village in search of hidden quests or rewards. A typical assassin's stealth could easily be detected at this stage, yet the Shadow class carries a mastery so refined that even monsters can't sense him. His invisibility may not last forever, but since its cooldown begins the instant it's activated, he can disappear again after just a few seconds. Every player starts with base stats of 10. Classes usually grant a few bonus attributes. His past life warrior class offered 3, focusing only on strength and constitution. But the Shadow class enhances every stat, with agility soaring by 8 points. He still has 5 points left to assign. Most players dump theirs into strength or spirit to amplify attack or magic power. But Qin Feng knows better. He understands that agility is the true key, because only by becoming faster can he kill without ever being hit. Soon, he spots a crawler monster, still devouring lifespans to evolve. He realizes it's the very same creature that wiped out the previous 4-player team. In one swift motion, he eliminates it with a single fatal strike, surprising even himself. His backstab, amplified by multiple skill effects, multiplies the damage exponentially, resulting in an instant kill. In his warrior days, even a critical strike barely dealt 40 damage, and defeating a crawler required immense struggle. Now, he absorbs the creature's remaining lifespan over 100 years worth, or so it should have been. But since the crawler consumes some first, he receives only 54. For defeating the beast solo, he earns an infinite evolution talent. Every 24 hours, he'll gain 5 evolution points automatically. In his past life, equipment and skills were fixed by grade, unable to evolve further, but now, using these points, he upgrades Shadow Sneak and Backstab. Shadow Sneak lasts 16 seconds now, and with Stealth Master doubling the duration, it reaches 32. With that, he achieves near-permanent invisibility as he strolls deeper into the forest. Soon, he encounters a few figures standing ahead. Above them looms a monstrous creature known as the Nurturer. He slips into stealth once more. The Nurturer is a low-level boss with roughly 1600 HP, commanding a horde of spiderlings. It's the kind of enemy no beginner should ever attempt to face. But for Qin Feng, it's the perfect test ground for his enhanced skills. He darts forward and launches an attack on the Nurturer. His strike lands, inflicting over 300 points of damage instantly. Thanks to his high agility, he evades the counterattack. Otherwise, death would have been immediate. Yet these monsters are cunning and won't simply take the beating. The Nurturer scans for his location, commanding its minions to stay alert, forcing him to tread carefully. With Stealth's ambush strike bonus and the class skill enhancements, even simple stones hurled by him deal astonishing damage. So he formulates a rhythm, wait for Shadow Sneak's cooldown, throw a rock to trigger ambush, backstab, and weak point bonuses, then vanish again and repeat the sequence. The cycle continues until the Nurturer finally collapses. His victory updates the leaderboard, placing him as the first player in the world to reach level 2. Other players are stunned. While they still struggle to grasp the basics, someone has already soloed a boss. The 4-player party recognizes him and can't believe it. They couldn't even handle low-tier mobs, yet he took down a boss alone. As the giant spider falls, the smaller ones scatter in panic. Qin Feng realizes too late he should have slain them first for bonus experience. Among the loot, he's astonished to find the Greedy Hand skill book, a drop far beyond his expectations. A bronze-tier boss shouldn't yield such a divine assassin skill. The Greedy Hand greatly enhances loot drops, giving late-game players a 20% chance for extra rewards. In his past life, one man wielded this skill and became a legend sought by every guild. Even though its activation rate is low, with his unlimited evolution ability, Qin Feng can amplify both the drop rate and the quantity indefinitely. Meanwhile, in the real world, Xiaoyu's friend urges her to call her brother and apologize. They skipped an exam to secretly cheer for Song Fei, and she's sure her brother must be furious. Yet, Qin Feng's sister refuses, convinced she's done nothing wrong and that her brother should be the one apologizing for always meddling. As they approach the growing commotion near the classroom, they spot Zhang Wei's body becoming translucent. A classmate nervously explains that he just wanted a nap and somehow ended up like that. But he isn't the only case. Reports flood in worldwide, people falling asleep and turning semi-transparent, their bodies becoming ghost-like. Experts speculate that once they slip into another realm, though no one understands why. Xiaoyu's friend frantically calls her family, urging the sister to do the same, but she scoffs, claiming that a guy like him deserves whatever happens. Meanwhile, inside the game, our protagonist evolves Greedy Hand from bronze to gold tier. Its success rate for extra loot skyrockets to 70%. He's got 2 more evolution points remaining, but the next enhancement requires 3. Once he reaches it, he'll guarantee 100% additional drops. Yet he knows the real world must have noticed the anomaly by now. Soon, countless people will join the game. He needs to accelerate his growth and arm himself fast. He understands that once humanity learns that skills and gear can be transferred to reality, chaos will reign. To extract such powers, 2 conditions must be met: reaching level 10 and possessing enough tradable lifespan. Fighting weak monsters wastes time, he must hunt stronger prey. As these thoughts circle his mind, he stumbles upon a group battling a sprint predator. Among them, he spots a familiar face, Wang Meng. Rumor has it that whenever Wang Meng enters the game, he soon realizes that Wang Meng has gathered an entire squad made up solely of hidden class players. Wang Meng's own hidden class, Holy Shield Warrior, possesses twice the base attributes of a normal warrior and grants an innate invincibility skill. The mage among them, Prophet of Flame, unleashes spell damage double that of ordinary mages and wields a built-in prophetic fireball. Their archer, titled Sharp-Eyed Shooter, has doubled the standard archer stats and comes with a natural rapid-fire ability from the start. The priest of the group, an oracle priest, restores life at twice the normal rate and begins the game with a full party healing technique. Watching Wang Meng fight with constant support from the priest's recovery spells, Shadow realizes that if the battle continues too long, it will inevitably attract nearby monsters. Just as he predicts, a Corruptor, a level 2 creature coated in dark, sludgy filth, charges into the fray. Shadow notices another hidden class fighter joining the assault on the Corruptor, though this class is one he's never seen before. Unfortunately, their strikes barely leave a scratch. The creature's defense is overwhelmingly high. The monster retaliates with ground-binding spells, trapping its opponents and slowing their every move. Everyone gasps when, without warning, the Corruptor drops dead in a single hit. None of them could even kill a basic level 1 crawler that quickly, so the one shot leaves them utterly stunned. Our boy follows up with another clean kill, yet his presence remains unseen. The only thing they can hope for now is that whoever this mysterious savior is, he's on their side. Shadow unlocks Venom Dart, a mid-range poison skill, and immediately evolves it to strengthen its potency. The sprint predator manages to stab Wang Meng, but before they can react further, a shadowy figure strikes from nowhere, slicing away half of the monster's HP in an instant. Shadow himself is surprised when the Venom's lingering poison activates his class's hidden passive trait. Cloaked in stealth, he can remain unseen and endlessly launch poison darts. When Wang Meng watches loot vanish into thin air, he wonders aloud whether the unseen helper is even human. Still, he thanks the invisible stranger for saving them, despite never catching a glimpse of him. Our boy replies bluntly, warning him never to trust anyone roaming the wilds. Wang Meng seems trustworthy enough to Shadow, and having the Doxia government's support means he has resources to spare. Shadow figures he could use Wang Meng as a stable trade outlet to sell off excess loot once his inventory overflows, and when that time comes, he'll return to town to exchange it all for lifespan, accelerating his growth 100-fold compared to his previous life. Now he looks forward to encountering Song Fei again. Meanwhile, out in the wilderness, groups of players continue to be overwhelmed by ever-growing swarms of monsters, deciding they should retreat before it's too late. But before they manage to withdraw, another towering creature appears above them, slaughtering every last one without mercy. They realize that reaching level 3 is their only way to escape the game, but it seems nearly impossible. Some argue they need parties of 6 or even 10 to survive, while others counter that such large gatherings just lure bosses, making it worse. If they can't reach level 3, they'll remain trapped forever, dying over and over. Then they see our boy, already standing at level 3, and decide to plead with him to help them reach that milestone. In return, they promise him a reward of 10 million cash. During that time, Shadow defeats the polluter and finally earns enough evolution points to upgrade Greedy Hand again. Now, it grants a 20% chance to improve loot by 1 tier. He muses that if he keeps enhancing it further, it might someday reach 100 or even 200% effectiveness. Soon after, he encounters a cursed boss, greedily absorbing life energy to advance into a silver tier boss. But even if Shadow kills it, his full inventory prevents him from collecting the drops. He decides to mark the location on his map and return once he empties his bag. Back in the safety of the city, rumors spread quickly. Someone's offering 10 million to hire the mysterious player called Shadow as a power leveler. When he returns to town to sell his haul, other players notice he's trading away bronze-grade equipment. They whisper among themselves, wondering why his face remains hidden until someone points out that he's likely using a concealment function to stay anonymous. A female player approaches, requesting the icicle spell. Shadow names his price, 100 days of tradable lifespan. She tries to haggle, but he insists the price is already generous. When she offers real-world money instead, our boy coldly tells her to use that cash to buy lifespan from another player and trade it with him. After checking with her teammates, she agrees and exchanges the 100 days for the spell. Not long after, Zhongli appears and asks the protagonist to boost her to level 3 in exchange for 10 million cash. He recalls from his previous life that she once led a criminal organization, deceiving players into selling their lifespan before enslaving or murdering them. When Shadow refuses her offer, she raises the stakes, offering cars, houses, anything he wants, but he remains unmoved. He knows money is worthless, only tradable lifespan will hold value in the new world. Even after his repeated rejections, Zhongli persists, trying to tempt him with more promises. Shadow's patience ends. He threatens to erase her lifespan until it hits 0 if she doesn't leave. Once he's sold everything, he sets his sights back on the Curse Master boss. No one yet realizes that tradable lifespan can be used to extract in-game powers into reality. Nor do they understand that this so-called game is about to plunge the real world into complete disorder, where wealth, fame, and status will mean nothing. While Zhongli fumes and plans revenge for the humiliation, a man named Mao Lijun steps in. He offers to help her level up, asking if the 10 million cash deal still stands. She negotiates, admitting he isn't as capable as Shadow, and promises 5 million instead, payable once they're back in reality. Meanwhile, our boy returns to confront the curse boss once again. This time, the creature has successfully evolved into silver tier form. It would take at least 7 or 8 hours for it to advance to gold, and he's far too lazy to wait that long. A silver tier boss carries 2 to 3 times the health of a bronze one, yet that still equates to only 2 or 3 venom darts from him. The Curse Master specializes in mage-type abilities. Most of its spells are wide-area attacks that can obliterate targets in seconds. Had our boy not stepped out of its range after launching a dart, he would already be dead. He waits for his stealth cooldown to finish, then strikes during a brief lull in the monster's barrage. When he releases another venom dart, the boss panics and tries to flee, its life force almost depleted, which only makes finishing it off that much easier. Slaying the Curse Master grants him 2 immediate level ups and 4 evolution points. Greedy Hand triggers its bonus effect twice in succession. The silver tier boss yields a total of 12 evolution points and 372 days of tradable lifespan. On top of that, the bonus from Greedy Hand upgrades one of his silver tier items into a gleaming gold tier treasure. However, the boss drops 7 or 8 new equipment pieces, and with only 10 inventory slots, he's quickly running out of space. Constantly trekking back to town to sell is becoming impossible. He concludes he urgently needs a storage ring or anything that can expand his carrying capacity. Meanwhile, Wang Meng and his teammates finally achieve level 3, celebrating their survival with visible relief. As the leaderboard updates, Shadow's rank rises to 5th place. Once again, the other players are left in awe while most still struggle to reach level 3. He's already climbing ahead. Wang Meng suggests they log out and inform their families about the terrifying reality of this godforsaken game. The moment he exits the game, he opens his eyes back in the real world. His friends rush to him, relieved he's conscious again. He urgently tells them to gather everyone. Something monumental is unfolding. Wang Meng reports everything to his superiors, how Shadow rescued him, how he leveled up, and how that same mysterious player advanced from level 3 to 5 in mere hours. One of them wonders aloud why Shadow hasn't returned to reality yet. Could it be, he asks, that the man has no one waiting for him? Wang Meng's commander confirms that his data aligns with intel from higher authorities. New studies reveal that elderly people are dying shortly after they fall asleep. He adds that, after comparing data from those who've returned, many of them indeed perished multiple times inside the game, proving that once your lifespan hits 0 in Shen Q1, you die in the real world. The commander concludes grimly that humanity might be facing an invasion from beings far beyond their comprehension. The upper management issued an emergency directive. Vanguard units must be organized immediately according to regional divisions, their mission being to explore the mysterious game and exchange crucial intel. The chief explains that this incident is of worldwide importance. Every nation across the globe is pouring in all available resources to investigate the game. Falling behind would mean losing global influence, so acquiring information is non-negotiable. He appoints Anyu as the team's leader, believing her temperament is best suited for probing into the unknown shadows, while naming Wang Meng as vice-captain and instructing the group to select the rest of their members. Their final order is clear: earn Shadow's trust, uncover his true identity, and secure every piece of knowledge he possesses. The others are tasked with maintaining societal order, and with that, the meeting is adjourned. Back at the academy, students murmur among themselves, noting that if players from the same district fall asleep at the same time, they'll spawn together in the same starter village. Xiaoyu can't stop thinking about Qinfeng. He still hasn't apologized, which is unusual since he's normally quick to say sorry whenever she gets upset. This time, she resolves firmly that she won't forgive him so easily. Still, she feels a flicker of happiness remembering that she got to see her boyfriend yesterday, knowing chances like that will be rare once they're both inside the game. Then it dawns on her that Sanfei will also log into the game once he falls asleep. Meaning, the moment she enters, she might be able to find him there. Determined, Xiaoyu plans to ask Zhongwei for help in leveling up. He's a seasoned player after all. Zhongwei advises her to invest all her stat points into agility, even though her class is mage, otherwise she'll lack the necessary speed. He also explains that once someone reaches level 5, the teleportation array to other villages becomes accessible, so she should join any random team for now. When that teleportation gate opens, he promises to come find her and assist in her progression. Later, Xiaoyu drifts off to sleep, smugly thinking she'll refuse to help her brother grind levels once she surpasses him, completely unaware of his actual rank. Inside the game, our protagonist earns a new rank. The promotion grants him 8 attribute points across all stats, 32 in total, equivalent to roughly 3 level ups, along with dark element resistance. A boon that'll give Shadow the edge against many creatures. The weak point attack multiplier now begins at 1.5 times with this new ring. He also unlocks an additional AoE attack skill capable of short-range teleportation and even temporary invisibility. With his remaining evolution points, he chooses to upgrade the greedy hand first. From now on, every monster he kills drops double the loot. 1 slain foe equals the reward of 3. The rest of his points go into enhancing instant Shadow Slash by 3 tiers. Though the cooldown remains unchanged, the ability itself now enables near-endless invisibility. Suddenly, a swarm of level 4 limb crawlers lunges toward him. It's the perfect opportunity to test the true might of instant Shadow Slash. Shadow's monster-killing efficiency skyrockets. 2 venom darts are all it takes to bring down an enemy, drastically shortening combat and minimizing danger. At this stage, Shadow possesses 618 tradable lifespan days. Yet, to materialize his equipment and abilities in the real world, he needs at least 900. So, he decides to return and liquidate every item in his pack. Perhaps then he'll finally hit the threshold. Once he reaches level 10, he'll gain the ability to carry both his stats and gear into reality. Meanwhile, Maogun helps Zhonglin reach level 3 and asks for payment. She gives him her contact information, telling him to message her once they're back in reality. She also requests that he sell her tradable lifespan at 10,000 per day. Mao Lijun, ecstatic, agrees immediately, convinced he's a genius for turning in-game power into real-world profit. Elsewhere, our main lead activates the teleportation formation in Shaley Town, but for the time being, it's useless. The teleport array in the beginner town only functions both ways when another is activated elsewhere. Remembering that Songfei was once in Firefly Town in his previous life, Shadow sets up an alert to notify him once that teleportation point goes live. Still, his current objective is clear: reach level 10, then proceed to the Forsaken Realm of the Gods where the true game begins. With that goal in mind, he returns to Shelltown to offload his equipment. As soon as he arrives, crowds of players rush toward him as though anticipating his comeback. His earlier sales had already made waves, and within moments every item he listed is gone. He earns 650 more tradable days, totaling 2,104, still insufficient for transference of stats, skills, and items to reality. Just as he's about to leave, a player approaches him holding a peculiar ring. A space ring, special storage gear. Its worth lies in occupying neither ring nor backpack slots, though each player can only equip 3 storage bags at once. The rarity of such an item is immense. Back in the day, 12-slot versions sold for 3,600 days. However, this girl refuses lifespan payment. Instead, she asks him to add her as a friend and team up to defeat a single boss. Shadow accepts and asks the name of the target. She admits she couldn't read it clearly, only that it's a gold-tier boss, a decayed-looking ship floating in a swamp. At that moment, our hero realizes it must be the Golden Ghost ship, a rare, extraordinary boss that can spawn at any level, infamous for its abysmally low appearance rate and exceptional loot. Whenever it surfaces, entire guilds wage wars over it. The version that appears in a level 5 town is considered the easiest to defeat. For it to show up in a beginner area is practically miraculous, and only someone carrying the rare storage ring and part of Wang Meng's squad could trigger such odds. Our protagonist suddenly suspects that this girl might be the lucky koi from his past life. She explains that after eating in real life, she logged in to grind with her teammates, but they lagged behind, so she wandered alone, and stumbled upon the gold-tier boss by chance. In Shadow's previous timeline, rumors spread about a member in Wang Meng's group blessed with absurd luck, always running into hidden bosses, treasure chests, or even sealed temples. He once dismissed it as a smokescreen to mislead competitors, never expecting that rumor to be true. Meanwhile, a hidden informant eavesdrops on every word of their exchange. He darts back to his commander, reporting that our protagonist has left town accompanied by a girl. Shadow tells the so-called koi fish he'll help her slay the boss, but any dropped gear or spellbooks go to her. He'll just keep the rest. After negotiating, koi fish proposes that if any loot suits Captain Wang Meng or his team, Shadow should sell it to them at a discount. With terms agreed, the two set off toward the gold-tier boss. Koi fish voices her concern. He's an assassin while she's a mage. If the boss targets her, she won't be able to survive the blows. Shadow calmly assures her that he'll handle the creature alone. She can simply observe from a distance. Her eyes widen. Even knowing his strength, taking on a gold-rank boss solo sounds absurd. While she's still doubting, our boy fades into invisibility. A group of thugs tailing them assumes he's fled, rushing forward to capture the girl, but he's been lurking right beside them all along, and eliminates them in a flash. Unfortunately, their pitiful levels yield only 12 days of lifespan. Reappearing, Shadow casually informs the girl that some men were stalking them, so he merely escorted them back to town. She jokes about his invisibility and how handy it must be for bathroom breaks, but he cuts her chatter short and tells her to lead the way to the boss. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu finally logs into the game world, instantly overwhelmed by how lifelike everything feels. To her surprise, she receives a hidden class as a bonus. Priestess, an immensely powerful class. Convinced this will make her worthy to stand beside her renowned brother Song Fei, she wonders briefly what he's up to in-game. Yet even as his image surfaces, her irritation returns. She curses Qin Feng for being domineering and dull, deciding she doesn't need him anymore. With Zhang Wei promising to guide her leveling, her brother fades for her thoughts entirely. But as she checks the leaderboard, a name catches her eye: Shadow, already sitting at level 6. The sight shakes her confidence in Zhang Wei's supposed expertise. Compared to this mysterious player, he seems mediocre. If she could locate Shadow, her progress would skyrocket. Before she can act, she overhears another party lamenting their recent defeat. They're frustrated, admitting they desperately need a healer, a perfect chance for her. Xiao Yu steps forward, announcing herself as a hidden class life sacrifice, insisting she'll prove indispensable. Meanwhile, Shadow approaches a cliffside with Hei. From there, he spots the Golden Ghost ship drifting eerily in the misty distance. He instructs Little Black to stay hidden and watch for ambushes while he takes on the boss alone. Before the girl can protest, he vanishes again, reappearing over the river below. The ship's domain distorts reality, creating a field where lifespan drains 100 times faster. Each second inside equals an entire day lost. The Golden Ghost ship stands at level 5, its countdown timer showing 45 minutes remaining. Ample time, Shadow notes, since special bosses always operate within time limits. He initiates Instant Shadow, immediately followed by Venom Dart, then chains the assault with Stealth Break Strike. The combo carves away a massive portion of the boss's health, though plenty still remains. From experience, Shadow knows most players make the fatal error of targeting the skeleton or ship itself. The true weak point is the ghostly fire bell fixed at the ship's prow. The moment it's hit, the ghost retaliates, seizing control of the surrounding waters. A colossal water barrage erupts from the waves. Those spiraling pillars inflict devastating damage. Even silver-tier warriors barely survive one strike. Thankfully, Shadow's agility lets him weave through every surge with fluid precision. But danger is far from over. The ghost conjures 12 decayed water wraiths, each equivalent to a silver rank foe. They manifest instantly, attacking in flawless formation. Worse yet, the boss can endlessly repeat this summoning, flooding the field with full squads of 12 again and again. Shadow slips back into invisibility, unseen by his enemies. All he needs now is the right vantage to eliminate them cleanly. Xiaohei, a mere level 3 healer, watches in disbelief. This is beyond anything she imagined. Only now does she understand why Shadow dominates the rankings at number 1. Suddenly, Shadow calls out, claiming he's about to die. She thinks he's joking until he tells her to wait. He'll resurrect soon. Confusion floods her as she tries to process his words. When the rival party they'd just defeated respawns, furious and jealous, they charge toward Hei, convinced Shadow must be nearby. Meanwhile, Shadow prepares for the next battle phase. He knows the 4th and deadliest stage is approaching. Once the Golden Ghost ship's health dips below half, it releases a soul-shattering wave. The wide-area blast freezes everyone in place for 5 seconds. Not even his invisibility can save him. When it hits, he's caught in its grip, and the ship's punishing strike lands squarely on him, draining a massive portion of his XP and killing him instantly. He ends up forfeiting 326 non-tradable years of his life. The rival party bursts into laughter, smugly watching Shadow collapse. To them, he wasn't so mighty after all. They assume the boss has weakened, so they charge toward the skeleton, yet before they can even make contact, they're obliterated in an instant and sent straight back to heaven. The group respawns in town, furious and bewildered. They never imagined the boss would be that overpowered, but their pride won't let them stop, so they rally themselves and head back to the battlefield for another try. Shadow also returns to the battleground, meeting Hei once more. She's startled to see him so soon, exclaiming that she just witnessed a Russian squad screaming before getting annihilated by a blast of water. Shadow recalls the torment from his past life when he fought against the Golden Ghost ship, but now, thanks to that experience, he knows its immobilization skill works only once. After that, the second phase becomes simple. The ship's HP is now below half, meaning if he delays, it might vanish and respawn somewhere distant. So, he has to finish this fast. He hurls a barrage of poison darts, landing a direct hit, right on the front bells of the ship. Then, using Shadow Step, he follows its pre-traced trajectory. Meanwhile, the same oblivious party returns again, trying to steal the kill by targeting both Shadow and the ship. But Hei isn't letting that happen. She channels her power and strikes them with a surge of thunder. But that only provokes them further. Enraged, they storm toward her. She runs for her life, desperate to escape. Elsewhere, another squad of vulture warriors hides behind the trees, watching everything unfold and waiting for the perfect chance to strike. The boss is nearly dead now, and the battle has dragged on far too long. Other players have started to gather, itching to swoop in and steal the loot. But Shadow isn't the type to share his spoils. With a few swift step shifts, he delivers the final blow to the Golden Ghost ship. He earns 400 XP, hits level 8, and collects 7 evolution points. He's crowned with the title of the world's first gold-rank boss killer, and the system-wide announcement lights up the network. Everyone who sees it is stunned. No one expected a player at his stage to achieve that. Most of these newbies can't even handle basic monsters. Meanwhile, the nearby looters grow greedy. They fixate on the glowing loot, lust gleaming in their eyes. Their leader calls his warrior, Aguang, ordering him to hunt down and kill Shadow before he escapes. Aguang releases his Phantom Eagle skill to scout the area, but he doesn't realize that Shadow's operating on a level far beyond their comprehension. As a result, he can't detect him at all. Seeing no trace of anyone nearby, they assume Shadow has already fled. They rush forward eagerly to seize the loot, but they still have to wait 5 minutes before it unlocks, and fortune isn't on their side. With only a few sharp swings and flicks of his blade, Shadow wipes them all out. Thinking the chaos is over, he prepares to enjoy his rewards. But then he realizes his little black companion is missing, mentally noting to check on her later. He turns his attention to his evolution points. Between the leftovers and his fresh gains, he now has enough to evolve the Scale of Greedy Hand. Activating Greedy Hand, he gathers all the lingering life spheres and detonates them simultaneously. He earns 21 evolution points, a massive number of tradable life days, and a rare special item. Phantom Fireballs. When equipped, they prevent life day loss upon death but have a 100-second cooldown. Shaking them also immobilizes all enemies within 100 meters for 300 seconds, and since they're categorized as items, not equipment, they don't consume gear slots. The twin bells occupy only a single inventory slot, making them even handier. While he's busy collecting loot, he hears Hei's distressed screams for help. Shadow immediately tries to ask where she is, but it's already too late. She's cornered at a mountain's edge, surrounded by the hooligan party closing in. But Hei refuses to let them have the satisfaction. Without a second thought, she leaps off the cliff and dies on impact. The group stands frozen, dumbstruck that she chose death over submission. Moments later, Shadow receives her secret transmission. She tells him not to come searching, as she's already respawned in town and will meet him there for their item exchange. Shadow checks his loot, and the results are astounding. He's gained 315 tradable life days, 21 evolution points, and enough materials to evolve Greedy Hand again. But he's aware that higher tier skills cost significantly more, so upgrades won't come cheap. He decides to focus on offense, allocating 8 points to Instant Splash and 10 to Backstab Booster. With that, Instant Splash now inflicts double damage, and from stealth, it can deal over 3,000 damage in one strike. Once his stealth breaks, his 7-hit combo can exceed 7,000 total damage. Normally, gold bosses drop 2 to 4 silver items with a slim chance of yielding gold gear. But with Greedy Hand, Shadow reaps far more. 11 gold items, several skill books, 2 platinum items, and even a platinum skill book. Among them lies the Ghost Ship Twin Blades, a platinum-grade assassin weapon capable of striking twice per basic attack. He also acquires the Phantom Fire Leather Armor, boosting his HP by 419 and amplifying stealth. Now, low-level players won't even scratch him. To stay under the radar, he conceals the armor's appearance, maintaining his default Shadow-class look so no one suspects his true stats. Next, he opens the Spectral Mist Gold Assassin skill book. Most players avoid this skill since failing a dodge lowers other stats, but Shadow doesn't care. His endless evolution means he can enhance evasion freely without penalty. For him, it's pure advantage. With everything secured, he makes his way back to town to offload his haul. On the road, Shadow encounters the same hooligans who once pursued Hay. The instant they spot him, panic spreads. They turn and flee, but he's too fast. Even as they plead for mercy, he shows no hesitation. He cuts them all down in a single stroke, earning the title Killer Level 1. When he finally steps into town, the crowd gasps in astonishment. They're terrified, intrigued, and amazed. But seeing him in plain, unremarkable gear only deepens their confusion. He doesn't look like someone capable of such feats. Soon after, the party that once tried to rob him returns. Their leader, Dongfeng Xian, steps forward and apologizes. As a peace offering, they present an assassin skill book purchased with their own lifetimes. Shadow silently accepts it. It's only Piercing Strike, a basic skill. The rest of the party fumes, outraged that they paid with their lives just to hand a skill to the man who killed them. But their leader insists it's strategy. Shadow's leveling pace is absurd, and since he's doing it solo, suspicions rise that he's hiding something. Their plan is simple. Wait for him to log off, track him in real life, capture him, and force him to reveal the secret. If that fails, they'll use a different tactic. Send a woman to charm the truth from him. Judging from his accent, they guess he's not from their circle, probably some poor outsider. That makes him an easy mark. All they need is the perfect woman, one irresistible enough to break his guard. Meanwhile, Shadow meets up with Hay, whom he now considers his lucky charm, and hands her a scale and a necklace. Both items amplify her damage and double her mana regeneration. She's thrilled. Shadow tells her it's been a pleasure doing business. She then mentions that while running through the forest earlier, she discovered what seemed to be an entrance to ancient ruins. That instantly grabs Shadow's attention. He figures she might know hidden zones where elite monsters spawn, making her worth keeping close. He asks about Wang Meng's whereabouts, since he plans to finish his trades before venturing out. But Hay explains that the captain and the others are busy training a new clerk, so they won't be around for a while. She marks the ruins entrance on the map and explains that a stone slab hidden in a bush blocks it. When she moved it and tried to enter, she heard horrifying screams and bolted. Shadow finds the place too tempting to ignore, deciding to meet Meng later and head straight for the ruins. He teleports instantly, recalling that he originally planned to grind to level 10, but this shortcut will get him there faster. In the starter village, there are 3 possible ruin types: catacombs, cursed ruins, and temples of faith. It doesn't matter which, it's always rewarding since even the weakest monsters inside are bronze or silver rank, offering lifetime drops and evolution points. As Shadow advances deeper, he narrates that creatures in cursed ruins are those cursed by ancient, malevolent gods. Some were once human but lost their minds or turned into ghosts after death. Clearing either cursed or temple-type ruins grants special items or rare skill books. Shadow studies the murals on the wall and quickly deduces that he's in a temple of faith. The artwork looks oddly familiar. Then it dawns on him. It's the temple dedicated to the ancient god of judgment, the same source as his Eye of Judgment skill. Meanwhile, Meng and his team are locked in battle with monsters. Their leader takes a hit and falls, and everyone screams at Xiaoyu to heal him, but she freezes, tears streaming as she cries out that she doesn't know what to do. Suddenly, a red monster drops from the sky and everyone shouts for her to use her skill. Instead, she throws her wand to the ground and sobs, saying she's terrified. Back in town, everyone is furious with Xiaoyu, and rightfully so. Hei rushes toward the group, explaining that she'd just completed a minor mission with Shadow and that he'd return later to handle the item exchange. But they pay her no mind and instead turn their frustration toward Xiaoyu, mocking her for being useless. The healer steps up in her defense, reminding everyone that it's normal for a newcomer to panic during their first few battles. One of the guys retorts that their party didn't die once but 3 times, and all because of her. The healer argues back, saying Xiaoyu now has gold-level armor, and they should let her prove herself again in the field. She's confident Xiaoyu will be helpful this time. Meng nods in agreement, deciding it's worth giving her another shot. Xiaoyu bows and apologizes outwardly, but deep down, bitterness churns within her. She believes they're the ones who lack skill and only scapegoat her because she's new. If they weren't connected to Shadow, she wouldn't waste a second with them. Meanwhile, Shadow ventures deeper into the ruins and catches sight of two monsters kneeling in prayer before an altar. They're level 10, silver tier devotees of the ancient god of judgment. He unleashes instant Shadow Slash, interrupting their prayer and dealing severe damage. Yet, even after breaking stealth and landing a backstab, their HP barely drops. As expected of silver tier level 10 bosses, their combined health pools surpass even the gold tier ghost ship he had taken down earlier. But then, both monsters kneel again, this time facing directly toward him. Shadow pauses, thinking it's a glitch since he's still cloaked in invisibility. A thought crosses his mind, perhaps they sensed his Eye of Judgment ability, which could explain their reaction. He tries speaking, asking if they can guide him or show the way, but their hollow gazes make it clear they don't understand. Shadow soon realizes they're no longer sane. Their flesh is rotted, and their minds twisted beyond reason. They've turned into feral husks that can only drain life force, incapable of speech or thought. Still, when their eyes meet his, panic overtakes them and they bolt in terror, not from him, but towards something else. Moments later, Shadow hears a group approaching from another path, shouting about silver-tier monsters charging at them. He observes from the shadows and recognizes one of the adventurers. It's the girl who once bought Ice Spike from him, Grey Rose. Shadow's surprised they managed to reach this place. Judging by their gear, they're nowhere near ready to handle silver-tier enemies, let alone delve deeper into the ruins. Within seconds, the entire party is annihilated. Shadow watches their recklessness in silence. They drop over 100 days' worth of tradable lifespan, a clear sign they were quite wealthy. The two devout creatures reappear before him, kneeling once again. Shadow knows there's nothing valuable left in this chamber. No traps, no secret rooms, just two corrupted silver-tier mini-bosses. He dispatches them swiftly and gains 4,000 XP, pushing his level up to 9. Activating Greedy Hand, he earns 32 evolution points. Along with that, he receives 1504 days of tradable lifespan, 4 gold tier items, 10 silver tier items, and a rare assassin relic, the Pendant of the Faithful. It's a gold tier accessory granting plus 15 agility, 20% cooldown reduction, and a unique skill allowing him to summon a silver tier devout follower to fight by his side. The stats are impressive, and the 20% cooldown reduction shortens stealth from 22.6 to 19.2 seconds, poison dart from 4.3 to 3.7 seconds, and instant shadow slash from 10.4 to 8.8 seconds. His grinding speed improves noticeably. The gear also requires level 8, meaning no one else can equip it yet. He decides to hold on to it, maybe sell it later. Suddenly, the ground trembles as a small pole rises from beneath him. Shadow realizes the mechanism has been activated now that the monsters are cleared. He steps closer to inspect the strange pillar. Only then does he notice it's actually an elevator platform. He descends roughly 300 to 400 meters below. When it halts, he finds himself in a labyrinth hidden beneath the temple. Such structures often appear under ancient ruins. From experience, he knows these mazes are packed with traps, though manageable if one has expendable allies to trigger them first. The danger isn't the traps themselves, but the time investment. Exploring solo is perilous. One mistake could mean instant death. Luckily, he now has the Pendant of the Faithful to summon a silver tier follower as his scout. He calls for the devout and orders it to take point while he follows silently behind. The path seems straightforward at first, but he remains vigilant. Danger can strike at any moment. As he walks, he spends 11 evolution points to evolve Ghost Shadow Blur from Gold to Epic tier. The upgrade grants a 75% passive dodge rate, and each successful dodge now renders him completely immune to damage for that instant. With such odds, it's a formidable defensive skill. He invests the remaining points to evolve Instant Shadow Slash to Epic tier 2. The enhancement widens its attack arc to 5 meters and adds 400 bonus damage. He recalls that evolving an epic skill to legendary costs 10 times the points. The higher a skill's base tier, the more efficient its upgrades become. That much he's learned well. With 11 points still left, he pours them into Shadow Sneak. Though his cooldown reduction stat shortens timers by 35%, the final cooldown remains 16.3 seconds, still too long. Its stealth break damage is also mediocre, so he plans to replace it soon, while adjusting his skills. His summoned devout steps on a misplaced stone. A massive boulder crashes down, crushing it instantly. Shadow sighs, muttering that he'll wait for the cooldown before summoning another. The maze twists endlessly with traps at every turn, forcing him to move cautiously. All he hopes for is that whatever lies at the end justifies the struggle. Meanwhile, on the temple's upper floor, Grey Rose and her teammates return to find the two monsters gone. Upon checking the area, they notice the lifespan energy those monsters carried has also vanished. Proof someone defeated them first. Only a player like Shadow could manage that, so they conclude he must have been here. Realizing this, they understand there's no reason to fight here anymore since the rewards are already claimed. Grey Rose recalls hearing someone earlier speaking to the monsters. The thought lingers. Could that have been Shadow? If so, perhaps he possesses an ability that can manipulate or charm bosses. That possibility alone sends chills down their spines. Back below, Shadow's summoned devoutes continue dying repeatedly. He trudges through the labyrinth's winding corridors at a measured pace. After nearly 3 hours of navigation, he finally reaches the end. He summons another devout and instructs it to move ahead. Eventually, they reach a massive stone door. He commands it to open the door, but the creature fails, so he steps forward himself and places his hand upon the stone. The door creaks open. Inside, he finds a chest resting at the chamber's center, surrounded by scattered coins. The chest is locked, and beside it stands a mysterious woman, an NPC. Shadow examines her closely but detects no name, no stats, nothing identifiable. She speaks in an ancient tongue he can't understand. Her form begins to fade away as she speaks. At the same time, the thorny vines wrapped around the chest dissipate. Shadow suspects she's connected somehow to the Eye of Judgment, though he can't confirm it. He turns his attention back to the chest. Its golden radiance signals epic tier loot, but he remains wary. Traps and mimics often masquerade as treasures. To be safe, he orders his devout to open it. The mindless undead obeys and lifts the lid. Inside lies a skill book tailored for assassins, an exceedingly rare god-tier manual containing both active and passive skills. Even at first glance, Shadow knows this isn't an ordinary discovery. The skill is called Pistol of Mercy. Its passive doubles weak point correction accuracy by 100% and amplifies weak point damage multipliers twofold. It also includes an active skill, Slit Throat, which inflicts a deadly debuff. The next attack's damage is replicated every second for 3 seconds, totaling triple the blow's strength. The cooldown sits at 60 seconds. The passive also doubles the size of an enemy's weak spot, making critical hits effortless, but the true power lies in Slit Throat. For instance, if his next strike deals 300 damage, the debuff adds 300 per second for 3 seconds, 1,200 total. 4 times the original hit, making it one of the strongest assassin combos in his arsenal. He can chain instant Shadow Slash to deal multiple hits, though Slit Throat only affects the first blow. Still, since it's epic tier, it requires only 10 evolution points to reach legendary. This loot marks a major leap in his power. His burst potential skyrockets. All of it, he notes, was made possible thanks to Little Black. To repay the favor, he decides to sell his extra loot to her team. Using secret transmission, he contacts Little Black, asking her to tell their leader, Wang Meng, to return to town. He has items to trade. The girl is stunned. He's already finished exploring the ruins, but the team quickly heads back. As soon as Shadow arrives, crowds of players swarm him, calling him Big Brother, flattering him, asking for guidance, all desperate to gain his favor. And it's not just Firefly Town anymore. Players from Underwater Town and Azure Wave Town have come too. The teleportation gates between towns must have been activated, allowing free travel, including to Songfei's Firefly Town. Then, just like that, Shadow vanishes from sight, leaving everyone bewildered. But he hasn't gone far. He's simply hiding in plain view. Soon, he locates his lucky charm. Together, they regroup with Wang Meng's party. There, he notices Xiao Yu has joined them. The sight puzzles him. Someone like her could easily hold the team back, but he stays vigilant. Now that his name has spread, he can't afford to reveal his true identity. In the real world, even a kitchen knife could end him while his body sleeps. Xiao Yu eagerly approaches, flirting shamelessly and commenting that he looks even stronger in person. She thinks that by staying close to him, she'll soon meet her idol, Songfei. Shadow ignores her completely and proceeds with the trade, exchanging top-tier skill books and gear for 2,200 days of lifespan. Wang Meng hesitates, saying the items are too expensive, most being silver or gold tier. But Shadow assures him it's fine, he'll extend them credit to pay later. The leader is taken aback by this generosity, not understanding why Shadow would help them. So he promises that if Shadow ever needs assistance, their team will answer the call. As they test their new gold tier equipment and abilities, excitement fills the group. They feel stronger, thankful, and proud to have Shadow's backing. Only Xiao Yu remains empty-handed. Meng explains there was nothing suitable for priests among the loot, and the rest casually dismiss it, saying she's lucky just to leech XP by tagging along. Xiao Yu pouts and approaches Shadow again, complaining that she's a priest too and deserves gear. She even sends him a friend request. Her in-game name, Little Graceful, makes Shadow smirk inwardly at the irony. Once again, he pays her no attention, doesn't speak, doesn't even glance her way. He disappears, leaving the crowd stunned yet somehow relieved. Everyone quietly celebrates, admiring how he walked away from her like a true legend. Meanwhile, Shadow knows he's got a gold-tier priest staff, and even a gold-tier priest skillbook tucked away in his inventory. But he'd rather choke on his own blood than hand those over to his ungrateful sister. He's aware that as he levels up, gear and books will pile up rapidly, and selling each one individually would waste time. Meng's ties to the higher-ups make him the perfect middleman for storage and sales. Still, he can't let Xiao Yu jeopardize that partnership. He needs someone reliable to replace her. And that's when the memory of Gu Yishui surfaces. In her previous life, she had served as the manager of the Gold Slayer Guild. She played a concealed priest class known as the White Avian Priestess, a role that came with a loyal white bird companion capable of healing wounds and bestowing powerful buffs. She's precisely the type of support Meng's squad has been lacking. In fact, she was the only priest Shadow ever met who could take down epic tier bosses entirely on her own. To him, she was a genuine powerhouse, everything Xiao Yu wasn't. While Xiao Yu dragged the team down, this woman could elevate them to greatness. Then it dawns on him. Xu Wei is also from Firefly Town, the same hometown as Song Fei. 2 reasons to go there. 2 objectives, with 1 perfect move, like striking 2 birds with a single stone. Without wasting even a breath, he makes his way to the teleportation gate. As he steps through the shimmering portal, his body vanishes into invisibility mode, his presence erased from sight. But the moment he arrives in Firefly Town, an unsettling quiet greets him. The streets are still, too still. He strains his ears and catches fragments of frantic chatter. It seems 2 players have just been killed and are preparing to return to the battlefield. The silver tier boss they were facing is now below half health, and they're desperate to finish it before someone else swoops in to steal the kill and claim the loot. They also mention that Song Fei is there, as usual, surrounded by his fan club of adoring girls, and that they better hurry before those mindless fangirls throw themselves into a deadly fight just to impress their beloved mid-tier idol. Shadow is surprised. In mere seconds, he's already gathered this much intel on Song Fei. Without hesitation, he decides to tail them quietly. Their path leads them to Wailing Alley, a level 5 zone infested with beasts like the Embradine and Shackled. At the very center of the area, Shadow spots it. A twin-headed silver tier boss, its entire form coated in amber scales that gleam menacingly in the firelight. But the true chaos isn't the monster itself. It's the swarm of players slaughtering each other in a desperate frenzy to land a hit. Then Song Fei appears, flanked on all sides by his loyal army of fangirls, moving like a living barricade to protect their idol. The players nearby shout accusations, calling him a thief who ambushed them and robbed them of their lifespan. They swear to end him here and now, but before anyone can lay a finger on Song Fei, a tank mage rushes forward, slamming her staff into the ground and sending a man flying, screaming that no one is allowed to touch her Appa. Song Fei, the so-called heaven-defying mage god, carries the mage class. Shadow recalls vividly how, in his past life, Song Fei had deceived dozens of fangirls into choosing the same class. Once they became competent and acquired decent equipment, he stripped them of everything to amplify his own strength. His team lacked any real balance, yet his followers adapted. Some funneled every stat point into intelligence, turning themselves into glass cannons. Others leaned into agility, becoming swift disruptors. A few dumped points into vitality to serve as pseudo-tanks, while some chased the path of battle mages, swinging staffs like blunt weapons. In the early days, this chaotic formation worked frighteningly well. Song Fei's team terrorized the field, draining lifespan from anyone unlucky enough to cross them. No one could stand in their way. But as the game evolved, his fangirls began dying off both in-game and in reality, and each death fed Song Fei, granting him more untradeable lifespan until nothing of them remained. Shadow knows Chateau's assumption is spot on the battlefield. Song Fei manipulates his followers into fighting for him without ever giving the order aloud. He pretends to be caring, preaching peace and love, but beneath that mask, he fuels their obsession to battle on his behalf. What stuns Shadow most is just how deranged this fandom truly is, because they actually have songs and chants devoted to him as if he were a divine being. The fangirls fling themselves recklessly at the silver tier monster, and whenever the beast's attack targets Song Fei, they rush in and take the hit for him, sacrificing their lives without hesitation, each one dying while declaring their eternal devotion, screaming that they'll always be madly in love with him. One mage rallies her sisters, shouting that they must fight harder, that they have to defeat Shadow so their precious brother can claim the top rank. As expected, the chanting begins anew, voices echoing like a fanatical choir. Meanwhile, Song Fei sees the silver tier boss nearing death, but his thoughts drift to Shadow. How could someone at level 7 possibly solo a gold tier boss? To him, it's absurd. He convinces himself Shadow must be exploiting a bug or relying on a massive hidden team. There's no way a single player could be that powerful. Song Fei swears that once he slays this boss, he'll hit level 8, finally surpass Shadow, who's been stuck at level 9 for what feels like forever. Then he'll seize the top spot. But he's wrong. Shadow couldn't care less about levels. His only interest lies in erasing the pest standing before him, and in the next heartbeat, a hand clamps down on Song Fei's head and tears it clean off. Shadow appears out of nowhere, executing an instant shadow slash. Song Fei is obliterated in a single strike. The nearby players gape at the sight. The skull-masked assassin just dealt thousands of damage in one blow. His power is monstrous, leagues above their comprehension. They instantly retreat, abandoning the loot and muttering that the expert deserves it. After all, he eliminated Song Fei and his toxic entourage, doing everyone a favor. Cheers break out in his honor, but Shadow knows better. They're not cheering, they're afraid, hoping their praise will keep him from turning his blade on them next. Back in town, Song Fei respawns in disbelief. He can't comprehend how Shadow found and killed him so easily. Of all the countless starter towns, why his? His fangirls swarm around, furious and crying that Shadow must have felt threatened by his brilliance. They curse Shadow, calling him a cowardly villain. Just then, an archer steps forward, claiming she possesses the eagle eye skill to detect stealth and offering to join his party. One fangirl immediately rejects her, saying only mages are allowed and that the newcomer's low XP would drag down their brother's rank. But Songfei waves them off, slipping smoothly back into his manipulative charm, declaring that they are all family and that love conquers everything. Turning to the archer, he praises her spirit and says that even if she's not a mage, she should still join their ranks so they can all grow together. Predictably, the archer bursts into tears, sobbing that she's utterly devoted to him. Soon, other girls from different professions step forward, and Songfei gladly welcomes them all into his ever-expanding army as they sing praises of their beloved brother and vow vengeance against Shadow. The men in other teams watch in disbelief, convinced every last one of those fangirls has lost her mind. Meanwhile, Songfei basks in his growing influence. With countless witnesses around, he's certain that once he kills Shadow, the world will finally understand. A lone assassin means nothing compared to a noble mage like him. On the opposite side, Shadow activates Greedy Hand. Collecting 16 evolution points and 207 tradable lifespan, he evolves his best skill, Wall of Mercy, which now doubles the size of weak points on his targets. If it grows any further, half an enemy's body will count as a critical zone, and even his instant Shadow Slash might deal double damage. Throat Slit also improves, its cooldown reduced from 30 to 25 seconds, giving him the potential to one-shot a gold tier boss. Upgrading from Epic to Legendary requires no points, but reaching Mythic demands a 100-fold cost, 200 points total in his system. Following that pattern, enhancing Greedy Hand from Epic to Legendary would cost roughly 210 points, and to Mythic over 300-400, an impossible number now that he only has 9 points left, so instead he channels them into Backstab Enhancement. Between slaying the Silver Tier boss and wiping out dozens of players, he's earned over 1,400 days of tradable lifespan. With everything settled, he turns to leave. But out of nowhere, an attack strikes. Shadow reacts instantly, recognizing the attacker and dodges at the last possible moment, letting every strike miss by a hair. Looking up, he sees a horde of fangirls gathered on the mountainside, chanting for his death and vowing to avenge their fallen brother, Songfei. But Shadow has no time for their crazed devotion. He fades into stealth once more. The new archer smirks, full of confidence, claiming her eagle eye will expose him. She commands her eagle to scout from above, yet no sign of him appears. Then suddenly, a shadowy figure comes into view. And, without hesitation, the girls unleash every powerful spell and skill they have, screaming that this time they'll bring him down. But when the dust clears, they realize the target was one of their own, their assassin, the very one they'd sent to eliminate Shadow. An older mage quickly rationalizes the death, insisting that since the assassin wasn't a true mage, she never truly loved Songfei anyway, and orders the archer to use Eagle Eye again. Meanwhile, Shadow rings his Ghostfire bell, freezing every enemy for 3 seconds. Panic spreads as the fangirls realize they can't move. Shadow uses the opening. One swift Shadow Slash and wipes them all out. Still cloaked in stealth, he notices Songfei trembling behind a mountain, staring in horror at the massacre of his army. Shadow leans in close, whispering coldly that Songfei is already dead. In a panic, Songfei throws up his magic shield, but it shatters instantly as Shadow drives his blade forward, gouging out his eyes. Shadow realizes too late that Songfei activated a lifespan-draining skill against him. After calculating, he knows the man held over 2,000 tradable lifespan, but none of the fangirls had any left. All of it had been siphoned into Songfei. They think it's just a game, but Shadow knows the horror of their delusion. Such a waste, centuries worth of lifespan, now reduced to mere monster fodder. Back in town again, Songfei respawns in panic, shouting that Shadow's attack drained him down to only 500 days of tradable lifespan. He angrily blames the archer for failing to detect him. The archer sobs that she did use Eagle Eye, but it only revealed their own assassin. Another mage mutters that Shadow's stealth must be too high to trace. Songfei realizes that means Shadow can appear and vanish at will, leaving him defenseless. Yet he convinces himself that since he already stole Shadow's boss kill, there's no reason for Shadow to come after him again. Maybe it's jealousy, maybe Shadow just can't stand someone more handsome. He orders his followers to relocate for safety, and his fangirls shout in unison that wherever their brother goes, they'll follow. Sometime later, Shadow returns to Firefly Town under stealth, only to find Songfei and his group gone. Either they've logged out or left the area. He asks a nearby player where they went, and the man points him toward their trail, begging one favor. When Shadow kills Songfei, he should spare the man's girlfriend, a female archer named Phoebo Kitty. Shadow recognizes the name. It's the same archer who had tried to detect him earlier. He advises the man to move on, because she's already gone. He leaves, knowing that while he has a direction, he lacks a destination, and wandering aimlessly would be a waste of time. If he could just locate Gu Yishui, everything would fall into place. Then he spots her, the very girl he's been searching for, and steps before her, asking if she can assist him. Yishui blushes deeply, hardly believing Shadow is standing in front of her. But he's direct. He's heard she can scan vast areas for targets and wants her to locate Songfei. As payment, he'll sell her a gold-tier staff at a steep discount. Yishui, startled, asks how he even knows about her tracking ability since she's told no one. Shadow brushes off the question, and she admits she might not afford the price. He offers a deal 500 days of lifespan, down from the usual 800. She quickly agrees. They finalize the trade, and Yishui nearly drools over her dazzling new staff. Shadow snaps her out of it, urging her to get to work. She teasingly asks if he's not afraid she'll just run off with the item. But he replies that he knows she despises Songfei as much as he does. Yishui pauses, saying his voice sounds strangely familiar, asking if they've met in real life. Before he can answer, she summons her owl companion, soaring into the sky, quickly locating Songfei's position. Yishui sends him the coordinates but warns they might move soon. Shadow instructs her to add him as a friend to keep updating the location because once he arrives, Songfei's end will be instant. Shadow makes his way toward the desert, yet something unusual along the path catches his attention. His eyes narrow and, for a moment, he stops moving. Yishui notices his hesitation and asks what's making him halt. Shadow tells her to take a look around and see if there are any other trees that look like this one nearby. Yishui scans the surroundings carefully and soon spots 2 more trees positioned in a triangular formation. Shadow steps up to the tree before him and runs his hand over the strange symbol carved into its bark. The moment his fingers make contact, a luminous triangle forms between all 3 trees, glowing brightly. From the center of that formation, a jade-colored treasure chest slowly rises out of the ground. Shadow thinks he's incredibly fortunate to stumble upon an ancient god's blessing in such a forgotten village, and even luckier that it brought forth a chest. These blessings of ancient gods can manifest anywhere in the Forsaken Lands. Some spots bear peculiar marks, and when all are activated, the blessing awakens. Some summon formidable boss monsters, others call forth hordes of weak ones. Some offer chests of riches, and the rarest grant unique divine rewards. Yishui estimates that the chests must be worth at least 10,000 days of lifespan. Shadow agrees that her guess isn't far off. In his previous life, the exchange rate for tradable lifespan was between 1 to 100 and 1 to 10,000. By the second day, that value had already spiked beyond 1 to 50,000. Yishui watches intently and says she must memorize exactly what he did because with her scouting abilities, she could find more of these hidden treasures. Inside the chest, Shadow discovers an item called Blossoming Curse. Even he has no idea what kind of skill it might be. Its description states that when used on a player corpse dead for less than 15 seconds, a cursed flower will bloom from the body, draining the victim's total lifespan until nothing remains without any cooldown. Shadow immediately realizes this must be that broken, forbidden skill he once heard rumors about but never learned the details of. With it, he could completely drain another player's lifespan. That means Songfei's luck has finally run out. Shadow swears to hunt him relentlessly until he logs off. Once he reaches level 10, he'll extract his power into reality and finish Songfei for good in the real world as well. Meanwhile, Songfei and his followers are battling a monster. He thinks they've run far enough that Shadow could never track them to this place. Once he levels up here, he'll settle the score with that man himself. One of his mages notices that someone nearby is fighting a boss. Songfei scoffs and says they must be fans of some other idol. Suddenly, as if their minds explode with rage, his fangirls begin shrieking like wild beasts, screaming that those fans are pests who must be wiped out because their idol dared to mess with their brother's ranking. The other party, clueless about what's coming, is preparing to finish the boss when Songfei's group charges at them as if they were enemies. The opposing healer tries to reason with them, but the fangirls are far beyond reason. The truth is, the other group isn't even fans of their rival idol. Songfei just made it up, but it's too late. The fangirls slaughter the healer too and start chanting their idol's name while seizing the boss. Songfei drools at the sight of all the loot, thanking his family in a manipulative tone. They tearfully insist he never needs to thank them. As the boy begins to claim his spoils, Shadow silently observes from the distance. He immediately slips into stealth. Before Songfei even grasps what's happening, he's already dead, and his fangirls wail and scream at the sight of their brother's headless corpse. Shadow then activates the Blossoming Curse. A strange crimson flower bursts to life from within Songfei's body. This time, there's no one left to save him. Songfei respawns in town, screaming in fury. It feels as though Shadow bears a personal vendetta against him, yet he can't understand why. He wonders if it's jealousy, perhaps Shadow envies his popularity with women. Dropping to all fours in disbelief, Songfei curses, thinking Shadow must be a pathetic simp chasing him just because the girl he likes happens to be on Songfei's team. Then a system notification pops up. His tradable lifespan plummets from 400 to 370 and keeps dropping fast. He's thrown into panic just as his fangirls rush over, shrieking that something is wrong. They tell him Shadow used some kind of skill and a blood-red flower sprouted from his corpse, draining something vital from him. Songfei cannot comprehend how a flower on his corpse could sap his lifespan. There's only one conclusion: Shadow is trying to kill him permanently. He yells that he has to log off immediately before his lifespan hits 0. His family orders everyone to disconnect for now. He'll buy lifespan in the real world and convert it into gear. Once they're fully armed, they'll return and destroy Shadow. The fangirls obey their master without hesitation. Song Fei vows that this isn't the end. He's trained for 2.5 years to reach his current strength, and he refuses to believe he can't crush Shadow with sheer money. Meanwhile, Shadow stands amidst the corpses of those he's slain. He earns the title Slayer, a tier 4 rank. Dying would make him lose 96% of his own lifespan, yet he's harvested around 1,000 days from Song Fei's group before the absorption halts. They must have logged off. From a distance, Yishu and her owl watch him. They can't believe the might of the top-ranked player, Shadow. It's terrifying. Shadow asks if Song Fei has logged off. Yishu confirms it, and he tells her to monitor them closely and report the moment they're back online. Shadow mentions he has a gold-tier skill book, Holy Judgment Sword. When he offers it, Yishu says she's interested, and he tells her to wait for him in town. There, he explains that the skill book is worth 500 days of lifespan, but he'll sell it to her for half if she accepts one condition. Yishu recoils, insisting she doesn't sell herself. Shadow quickly clarifies, slightly embarrassed, he only wants her to join his team as their permanent healer. Yishu considers the offer. It sounds fair, but she warns that if they ever look down on her strength, she'll complain to him about it. Shadow says that's fine, the team's capable enough, he's going to contact them now. Meanwhile, Wang Meng fights on the battlefield slaying monsters. He urges Xiaoyu to cleanse the poison on him. But Xiaoyu doesn't even know what cleanse means. Song Fei reminds her that all priests have a purification skill and begs her to hurry before he dies. Suddenly, Xiaoyu remembers what that ability is. With confidence, she declares that everyone should watch her, but she points her staff the wrong way and nearly kills He. She laughs awkwardly, saying she just missed, but it's too late. Wang Meng collapses, dead from poison. Back in town, the team parts ways with Xiaoyu. Wang Meng thinks they need a new healer, but where can they find a hidden class priest now? All the good ones are already taken. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu remains cheerful, thinking the game isn't that hard. Reaching level 4 feels easy, and soon she'll meet her brother Song Fei again. Suddenly, Wang Meng receives a message from Shadow. He knows someone, a hidden class white avian priestess, and asks if the team wants her. Meng replies that he trusts Shadow's word. If he recommends her, then she's worth taking. Shadow says she's in Ember Town, where few people farm, so they can head there to level together. The captain agrees. It's a good plan since Shelltown has become too crowded. He then turns to Xiaoyu, explaining they're moving to a higher level zone that's too dangerous for her current rank, so she won't be joining. Xiaoyu can't believe what she's hearing and protests that she can still land some decent hits. But before she finishes, they run off, wishing her luck. Xiaoyu's expression hardens. She snaps that if they wanted to ditch her, they should have just said so. She claims she's tired of them anyway and will find the expert Shadow in Ember Town to carry her instead. Meng later arrives and pays 800 days of lifespan for the gear he bought earlier. Meng and his team still owe Shadow a few more days. He promises to pay the rest when Captain Ann arrives. Meanwhile, Shadow wonders if this Captain Ann is the same person he once knew. Suddenly, Captain Anyu appears, and he realizes immediately it's her. Her player ID reads Execution, and she possesses a rare hidden class, Dragon Knight. She ranks among the top 20 global powerhouses. In his past life, she had been one of Great Xia's elite military pillars, a nightmare for foreign forces. Captain Ann greets him warmly, praising his skill and saying she admires his combat prowess. Shadow feels slightly tense. This is the first time he's met someone who once stood above him in this cursed game, and comments on his insane leveling speed, teasing that he must be some kind of time traveler or reincarnator given how he plays. But Shadow remembers, in his past life, this woman was part of a different team from Wang Meng's. Even so, he receives the 500 lifespan days owed by Meng's team. He also realizes Yu has already secured a huge pool of official lifespan for Shanghai's government, and offers to buy any future gear from him on behalf of the officials. She says all of Shanghai City's official lifespan is under her care, so there's no need for him to kill her. Shadow replies that he's not short-sighted. Cooperation benefits them both. Yu smiles and says she knew he was sharp and confident, but he instantly realizes each of her words is a test. Just as the rumor said, Yu may appear gentle, but she's cunning and ruthless when necessary. Having her as an ally will spare him many future conflicts, especially with her position as Xia's liaison. Meanwhile, in the real world, Song Fei's fangirls chat excitedly in their group until a global announcement shocks them. The lifespan in Godforsaken is real, and if it hits 0, players die in reality. They realize in horror that they foolishly donated all their tradable lifespan to Song Fei. Many have only a few years, or mere days, left. They break down crying. Only now do they realize how recklessly they've been playing. One mage recalls charging fearlessly into fights, tanking enemies like a berserker, killing plenty but dying again and again. Now she has only a single day of lifespan remaining. Refusing to believe the announcement, she's thrown into denial until another message catches her attention. Song Fei is buying lifespan. She smiles, thinking she'll go to him. Surely he'll help her. She puts on her best lingerie. telling herself she wants to look confident so Songfei will praise her beauty. Elsewhere, Xiaoyu wakes in her room, confused whether she's in the game or reality. Checking her messages, she learns that 1 day of lifespan is worth 5,000 yuan and she has 200 days. That makes her a millionaire. Then it hits her. Shadow has killed brother Songfei 3 times already. Her hands tremble, tears streaming as she reads the warning. If a player's lifespan reaches 0 in-game, they die in the real world. She isn't afraid for herself. She fears for Songfei. Even with over 100 years of non-tradable lifespan, after 3 deaths he's down to just over 12. She can't understand why Shadow targets him, but the group chat confirms it. Shadow killed him 3 times despite his dozens of bodyguards. His strength is terrifying. Then another fangirl's message spreads. Songfei needs help. Everyone in Shanghai should sell their lifespan to him immediately. He's at Dajing Plaza offering a rate of 1 to 1,000. Xiaoyu panics. Dajing Plaza is close. She can't just sit still. She has to go and help her beloved idol. Meanwhile, Shadow continues slaughtering monsters with ease, as if it's nothing more than child's play. Soon, he reaches level 10. His 4-dimensional stats rise by 2 points, and he earns 5 free attribute points along with unlocking career advancement. Because he's the first player within Shanghai City to reach level 10, he gains 7 reputation points. As the first in the entire country to hit level 10, his reputation doubles to 14. Yet that's not the end of it. He becomes the first player in the world to reach level 10 and gains an additional 21 reputation points. At that moment, the teleportation gate to the Forsaken Continent of the Gods activates, and a global announcement resounds across every server, declaring that player Shadow is the first to achieve level 10. The whole world gasps in awe, though not entirely in disbelief. What unsettles them most is the realization that Shadow isn't just the first to defeat a golden tier boss, but also the first to ascend to level 10. News spreads quickly that the same boss had repeatedly slain a minor idol. With nearly 1.5 billion citizens in Tianzhu, not a single one can keep pace with him. Meanwhile, Shadow invests 13 evolution points into his initial skill, Backstab enhancing it from Platinum grade to Emerald. Its passive effect now boosts rear attack damage from 40 to 50%. However, his tradable lifespan amounts to only about 7,000 days, far from enough. To leave the beginner's town, he needs a total of 7 players at level 10 to unlock the teleportation to the abandoned continent of the gods. The current highest level among others is only 7, meaning he'll have to wait for a while. But this delay suits him perfectly. It aligns with his plan. Now, he can return to the real world and finally settle his score with Songfei. His figure dissolves from the game and he wakes up in his room. A system prompt flashes before him, asking whether he wishes to consume tradable lifespan to extract his agility ability into reality. He confirms the choice. There are 5 different aspects available for extraction. The options include class and level, as well as equipment, skill, lineage, and divinity. He begins by extracting his class, costing him 1,000 days of life. Next, he extracts level 2, consuming another 2,000 days. Then comes the ability extraction. According to system logic, the higher the skill's grade, the more lifespan it demands. Its cost rises exponentially. What surprises him is that the consumption rate depends on the original skill grade rather than its evolved level. The Shadow skill requires a mere 900 days to extract. The resulting ability syncs perfectly with the game and retains its platinum grade, assuring him that his real-world strength now mirrors that level of power. He then spends another 2,222 days to pull out Venomous Dart, a silver-grade skill from Dreadabyss. With roughly 1,300 days of tradable lifespan remaining, he knows he can't afford further extractions for now. Even so, gaining a platinum-grade Shadow skill in exchange for a low-tier one feels like an exceptional bargain. He feels the newfound power coursing through his veins. His basic physical capacity now surpasses that of any normal human by double, and his agility sits at 32 points beyond natural human limits. He has become a living weapon, equipped with endless invisibility and darts that can strike targets up to 14 meters away. Confident, he knows he'll soon find his chance to end Songfei, but he won't have to search for the idol himself. Songfei's every move is easily traceable online. When Shadow sees the idol frantically purchasing lifespan, he realizes Songfei is planning to settle the score after the upcoming game update. Shadow calculates it would take him only 10 minutes to reach Songfei's location. Just then, his phone begins to buzz. The caller is Hu Kubin, the arrogant company supervisor who always throws his weight around. Furious, Hu berates Qin Feng for ignoring his calls and mentions that a young lady, his superior, has taken a personal interest in him. But Shadow has no patience for work-related nonsense right now. He knows the real world is on the brink of collapse. Tossing the phone aside, he cloaks himself in invisibility once more. He mutters to himself that soon everyone will understand this game is not just a game, it's reality. The stadium, meanwhile, resembles a cult rally. On stage, Songfei sits with unshakable pride. His devoted fans scream his name, faces flushed and eyes shining with adoration at seeing their idol in person. He lounges like a monarch, his assistant beside him whispering about how Shadow killed him 3 times in the game. The assistant assures him not to worry. She's already sent people to uncover Shadow's real identity. Sonfei asks about the game update. The assistant replies that she's dispatched someone to approach Shadow in-game and offer him a deal too tempting to decline. Once he returns to reality, they'll lure him with the promise of money. Then, they'll capture him and let Sonfei deliver a personal punishment he'll never forget. Sonfei instructs her to alert him when it happens. He wants to witness it firsthand and savor the moment of vengeance. He also mentions hearing rumors about the Jing Corporation using the same tactics to control players, forcing them to work without pay. Apparently, these companies entice players with offers to trade lifespan for money. But once those players exit the game to claim their payment, they're abducted and tortured, enslaved by the corporation until they've worked off their so-called debt. Convinced of his own brilliance, Sonfei feels secure in his scheme to buy lifespan. But suddenly, a man standing at the barricade yells out toward the crowd of girls. He warns them not to recklessly sell their lifespan, explaining that according to the official announcement, if their lifespan in-game hits 0, they'll die in real life as well. Sonfei already knows this truth, but he keeps manipulating his followers, pushing them to trade away their lives and even commit murder. He simply exhales in mild annoyance, as if such chaos were part of his daily routine. Rising to his feet, he offers a performative apology, but the audience erupts, insisting he has nothing to apologize for. They cheer that they're more than willing to give him whatever he needs. Sonfei, like every cunning influencer, deceives his audience into believing he seeks only love and harmony, when in reality he's driven purely by selfish survival. He claims he's cooperating with the authorities and working tirelessly in-game to use his assets for acquiring lifespan, pretending he only wants to become an idol worthy of admiration and a role model beloved by all. He begins to shed fake crocodile tears. The girls in the stadium cry along with him, convinced that their idol's kindness and selflessness are genuine. Completely brainwashed, they believe he bears no fault at all. Then, they turn on the man who dared to challenge their delusion. The tank mage, always the first to strike at anyone opposing Sonfei, is also his most fanatical supporter in real life. She leaps onto the stage, declaring herself Sonfei's #1 fan, though even the idol feels uneasy and disgusted by her intensity. She proclaims that she'd gladly give up her life for her idol, despite being warned that her lifespan is under a day. Dismissing the official notice as false, she insists they must all be ready to sacrifice themselves for their beloved brother, arguing that anyone unwilling doesn't deserve to love him. Her words burrow deep into the minds of the other girls. One after another, they begin chanting that even if they have only days left to live, they'll devote everything, life and soul, to Sonfei. Sonfei flatters her again, saying he's fortunate to have someone like her. She breaks down into an ugly cry, convinced she's done something remarkable in her life, but then, just as suddenly as it began, a poison dart is hurled through the air and strikes clean through Sonfei's head. Part of his brain ruptures. His body collapses atop his superfandom. Shocked silence spreads, and within seconds everyone grasps what has occurred. Screams erupt, and the crowd starts to scatter in panic. Sonfei's assistant is shoved forward by bodyguards who scream for her to run and get away immediately. Terrified, she flees without looking back at her boss lying dead on the ground. She notices that when Sonfei died, a sphere of light appeared above his body, then vanished into thin air. It must have been taken by someone. It becomes clear that the cursed game skills that killed Sonfei manifested in real life, and only one person is known to use this method. Just as the assistant realizes this, another poison dart pierces her skull, killing her instantly. She was right. Shadow has come to eliminate the pest. 1 and a roll. Janai City grows grim as Sonfei's public, brutal death reverberates, and yet the calamity does not end there. His extreme superfans, one who sold her lifespan to him, also perish within minutes, and police reports label Sonfei's cause of death as supernatural. Still, few people truly accept that explanation. Xiaoyu refuses to believe she witnessed her beloved brother die on stage. He was alive a moment ago, then suddenly gone. She recognizes that the stealthy throwing knife technique comes from the godforsaken game, and when her friend asks if someone assassinated their idol given Shadow has already killed Sonfei 3 times in the game, she wonders how abilities could appear in reality so quickly. Xiaoyu pauses to think and gradually accepts that the rumor might be true. Shadow has felled Sonfei repeatedly in the game and seems to harbor a personal grudge. If anyone is an enemy of her dead brother, it's him, and the use of throwing knives and an invisibility cloak matches Shadow's known abilities, so he must be the killer. She breaks into an ugly cry, feeling her world has been emptied of life. Shadow managed to bring his in-game powers into the real world, yet she vows to get close to him, to stand beside him and to grow stronger no matter what. From this point forward, she holds only one objective: to avenge her brother Sonfei and to kill Shadow. Meanwhile, Qinfeng sits calmly eating noodles to fill his stomach. Even if a player is invincible in reality, playing still consumes energy, so hunger must be satisfied. He receives a message from his boss. The text threatens that if he doesn't come right away, he will be fired and will forfeit last month's salary. The sender is his colleague Yang Xiaoya, good-natured but weak and often bullied, who in her previous life belonged to a high Godslayer guild but was never a strong player. Out of kindness, Shadow advises her not to bother with their boss and says there's no point going to work, suggesting they should spend time leveling in the game instead. Xiaoya asks for game tips because people say it's difficult, and he offers friendly counsel. Whatever class she chooses, dump early points into agility. She then asks how his grind is going and what he's earned, and Shadow lies that he hasn't made much and has spent almost everything, prompting Xiaoya to laugh and tease that he must have bought a car and a house. No wonder he's skipping work, while Qin Feng thinks the boss is a real piece of trash. But the larger problem is his boss, Chen Zishi, daughter of the Chen Group CEO, notorious for predatory behavior towards subordinate men, known to frequent hotels with older foreign men and now targeting him. Chen Feng refuses to sell himself to someone like her. She's preoccupied with wrecking the country. In his past life, she brought endless trouble to the nation and to his god-slaying guild, so he knows he must stop her before she leaves for North America, because once she's overseas, she'll be harder to handle. And if Qin Shishi dies, the Alice in Wonderland Association will never be founded. Rumor has it many of the association's founders are entangled with her right now, so once she's gone, the founders will fracture and communication will cease. Right then, his phone buzzes again. It's his sister. When he answers, she screams like the brat she is, accusing him of never answering his phone and claiming she thought he died in the godforsaken game, then rattles on that since he's surprisingly still alive, she's earned enough to buy a house, and tells him never to contact her again. Qin Feng coolly asks what she wants. She repeats that he must never try to find her because she's independent and won't return, and he tells her it doesn't matter and that he's going to hang up now. That angers her further, but he refuses to listen. He leaves the shop, knowing he must resume leveling. Soon players will hit level 10 and discover abilities can be brought into reality. When that happens, the world's peace will vanish. Back inside the game, Xiao Yu continues acting bratty when a friend urges her to apologize to her brother so he'll help her in the game, but she remains stubborn and spiteful. Having sold her life force to the Chen Group for 2 million, she's become wealthy. She even bought a house for them to live in together, and her plan is to meet Shadow soon. For now, that's her singular goal. At that moment, an ex-classmate approaches, still trying to impress her. He presents the assassin skill book she wanted and reminds her of what she promised. She tells him she'll fulfill his small wish later while inwardly thinking how sycophantic he is. She only needs to get close to Shadow so she can stop talking to trash like him. She then contacts her former boss Wang Meng, telling him she has an assassin skill book with a control skill and asking if he can see whether Shadow wants it. She promises to give it away for free, though it's really part of her scheme. She believes the skill book will draw her and Shadow together. Once she's close and bonded with him, she plans to stay by his side, heal him, help clear enemies, level together, make him feel cared for until he trusts her. She even fantasizes about a relationship with him, and when she's strong enough and has his trust, she will murder him herself and gouge out his eyes to avenge her brother Sunfei. Lost in this morbid little plan, she receives Meng's reply. Shadow doesn't want the book and has no need for it. She should keep it and sell it for cash instead, and that bursts the bubble she'd been living in. On the opposite side, Shadow has already logged back into the game and resumed his hunt. As he roams through the area, he catches the distant sounds of an intense battle. When he gets closer, he sees that the creature they're fighting isn't just any boss. It's a dangerous golden arthropod, a level 8 boss monster. The party fighting it is giving everything they've got, yet their efforts are still falling short. Shadow recalls from his previous life that this particular boss possesses a level 2 anti-stealth ability, meaning his stealth skill is completely ineffective here. Just then, the boss swivels its head and locks its gaze directly on Shadow and begins to advance toward him with alarming speed. Without hesitation, the assassin lunges forward to strike first. His blade slices through the air, landing several precise hits in quick succession. He immediately realizes that attacking from outside the creature's line of sight yields far better results, since if the enemy can see through his invisibility, the stealth advantage is lost and his damage output plummets drastically. Fortunately, because of his legendary Divine Salvation skill, the boss's weak points, the head and the heart, have a 200% vulnerability boost. Out of his 9 rapid slashes from instant shadow slash, 3 connect perfectly with the weak spots, delivering triple damage. Meanwhile, a mysterious player with her face hidden observes him closely. She's stunned. The sheer damage from his shadow slash is insane. In a blink, the golden arthropod's health drops by a fifth. She keeps watching as Shadow hurls his poison darts, but since they're only silver tier, the damage isn't particularly impressive. Shadow mentally notes that he still needs to level up his profession to unlock higher stealth efficiency. He's still deep in thought when the arthropod raises one of its massive claws for a vicious strike. The girl suddenly yells out, warning him to dodge. Shadow reacts instantly, shifting his position at the very last moment. The girl can hardly believe anyone could move that fast, and it's obvious he has completely memorized the boss's attack patterns. Shadow recalls that no matter how many times he and his friend had tried in his past life, they were never able to defeat this boss. Back then, he realized this domain boss couldn't be beaten through brute force alone. You had to anticipate its rhythm, read its movements, and fight in sync with its flow. Once he understood that, he rose to become one of the top 100 assassins in the game. Suddenly, the golden arthropod turns tail and tries to escape. But Shadow isn't the forgiving type. With one more precise slash followed by a poison dart, he finishes it off. The boss's head tumbles to the ground. His system flashes, plus 6,400 experience points, plus 7 evolution points, and plus 497 days of tradable life. Using his greedy hand skill, he extracts even more, gaining an additional 21 evolution points and another 497 tradable days of life. He also unlocks a new assassin skill, the platinum-ranked Blacklight Shield. This ability converts all dodge rates into damage output and grants an immunity shield for 8 seconds. When the shield breaks or the timer ends, dodge stats revert to normal. Among the loot, he spots a skill book, Ghostly Blur, an epic grade ability with a 75% evasion rate. Combined with Blacklight Shield, it can stack up to 3 layers of damage reduction. With these, handling bosses becomes far more manageable, and it even lets him upgrade Blacklight Shield straight to epic rank. He spends 6 evolution points, evolving it to epic level 1, boosting the shield's protection to 7 layers, enabling him to challenge high-tier areas far earlier than most. With 22 evolution points still remaining, he shifts focus to his poison darts. Investing 16 points pushes them from silver to Emberland rank, raising toxicity from 50% to 80%. 3 upgrade boosts nearly double their power, and with only a 5-second cooldown, the continuous damage rivals that of Shadow Snake. 2 assassin-type gear pieces drop, which he quickly equips. The first, City of Lightness, a gold grade item, increases agility by over 20 and movement speed by another 20%. The second, Heavy Crimson Leather Gloves, also gold grade, provides 18 points of physical defense along with full elemental resistance and boosted constitution. The combined stats enhance his flame strength by 55%, shorten the regional fire effect duration from 12 seconds to 7.7, and add 51 damage, 106 physical attack, plus 1000 Fon 117 health. With all this and his Blacklight Shield, his attack rhythm remains steady while his survivability skyrockets. While he's still upgrading his abilities, the earlier party rushes over, awestruck by his performance. They ask whether he's got any spare skill books for sale. Shadow responds that he does. A mage-type skill called Frost Ejection, a gold-grade group ability that launches an ice orb capable of bouncing 10 times. Its price, however, is steep, 800 days of life. The party complains it's overpriced, saying someone else sold a level 5 gold skill for less earlier. Shadow corrects them, clarifying that it's actually a level 7 skill. Once upgraded, its damage rises by over 40%, so 800 days of life isn't unreasonable at all. A hidden-faced girl steps forward, stating she's already purchased it and completed the transaction. With that, Shadow takes his leave. Since he hasn't yet cleared the town's main boss, he plans to spread word in the small settlement, gather intel on its whereabouts, and confirm if a golden tier boss is there, because if it is, he'll have an endless source of battles to fuel his growth. Just then, a message arrives from Wang Meng. Xiao Yu, his former teammate, is offering Shadow a skill book for free and asks if he wants it. Shadow suspects it's just a bronze tier book, but knowing his sister, he doubts her motives. She never offers anything without a hidden purpose. Rumors are already circulating that Shadow was the one who killed Song Fei, and Xiao Yu's sudden generosity only deepens the suspicion. He tells Meng to keep the trash and check it herself, though the doubt continues to gnaw at him. He wonders if Xiao Yu is trying to win his favor or avenge Song Fei. Either way, he decides it's best to maintain distance. He then instructs Meng to come to town, prepare some money in advance, and get ready. He has something big to sell. Before ending their chat, the party leader stops him and asks the very question Shadow's been expecting. Did he kill Song Fei? Shadow answers without pause, yes. But Meng knows full well that when Song Fei died, Shadow was offline. That fact, combined with the timing and the motives, makes Meng realize that the authorities likely already know most of the truth. The real question now is whether they plan to make a move against him. Shadow considers the timing carefully. In just 2 hours, other players will hit level 10, and the abilities within this game will begin transferring into reality. When that happens, the truth won't stay buried. He decides this is the perfect opportunity to see how the Doxia authorities respond to in-game killings. And with that thought, Shadow returns to town. The captain confronts him bluntly, asking if he was the one who killed Song Fei. Shadow admits it immediately, and she breaks into laughter. Rather than arresting him, she explains they conducted a full inquiry and found him the sole suspect. They also uncovered evidence that Song Fei and Zhang Li had conspired against him, and that Dodging Industries had been abducting players and forcing them to labor, so in her view, his killings amounted to self-defense. Shadow muses that these officials aren't as friendly to assassins as they seem. For now, they cannot identify him, so they'll keep cooperating. Still, he knows the situation is fragile. In his past life, he'd kept a clean record with the authorities, but this time he killed Zhang Li in person, and that could change everything. He's curious to see how his rebirth will alter the game's outcome. He opts to sell his unused platinum equipment, The government buys every class of gear and skills, and since they can pay with lifespan, he can offload larger quantities. When people spot the platinum items, excitement spreads, and they ask if he soloed a platinum boss since there was no global announcement. Shadow tells them the truth. He was lucky with Jade's chest and even bought a Jade skill book, and Yichue backs him up, saying she watched him open the chest herself. Shadow teasingly calls her Little Snow, which makes he complain because Shadow usually calls him Little Black, so she asks why Yichue gets a different nickname. Shadow offers her another pet name, causing her to flush even more, and Captain Ann remarks that while they struggle against silver bosses, he casually obtains platinum items and a Jade loot. Shadow then lays out the prices. A platinum archer skill book costs 2,500 days. A platinum barracks weapon, 500 days, a platinum skill book, 3,000 days, and a gold skill book and equipment, 8,000 days. He offers to hold the discount and sell the remaining 25 platinum books and gear for 16,000 days. Captain Ann accepts immediately. Wang Meng worries that she didn't haggle, but Ann insists the price is fair and even says she'll settle the small debt Wang Meng owes Shadow. The transaction closes, and Shadow agrees that Captain Ann made the right call. After the sale, his lifespan rises to 10,000 days, roughly 60 years, which is about 22,000 days in total, equating to around 400 million in real-world value. For the government, the expenditure is vast, but the payoff is greater. Those skill books and gear let the Zhenghai city government form powerful squads quickly. The stronger the authorities become, the fewer problems they'll face, and through this trade, Shadow secures leverage for forthcoming international clashes. At that point, Anne raises an issue, telling Shadow that Dodging Industries has imprisoned players and asking whether he'll join a rescue operation. Shadow suspects they're either trying to recruit him or using the rescue as cover to let his killing of Songfei slide, but he has no interest and declines. He confirms their fears by admitting he used in-game power to kill both Songfei and Zhongli, and warns them that once players hit level 10, they'll begin spending lifespan and can manifest abilities in reality. He urges them to comprehend the implications and to make good use of their remaining time. Captain Ann realizes that rescuing those players will become far harder once Dodging Industries members reach level 10 after issuing that warning. Shadow departs. He tells Wang Meng they should split up. With their squad now high level, staying together wastes damage by one-shotting mobs. By splitting into teams each led by a member, their leveling speed will accelerate. Their objective is to get everyone to level 10, then log off and share the intelligence with those still offline. Observers notice Shadow is opening shop again, but this time he's buying rather than selling. He offers 30 days of lifespan for silver boss coordinates and 100 days for gold boss coordinates. A youth who once served Zhongli approaches and says his young mistress promised him 300 million and shares in Dodging Industry if he agrees to carry her, insisting it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance that Shadow should treasure. Shadow replies that the boy must still be online because he already killed Songfei. And he also killed Zhongli in real life. The boy is stunned because he claims he'd seen her recently and remembered her beauty, lamenting it as a shame and a waste. The boy concedes, though, that Zhongli deserved it since she once tried to capture Shadow in reality and enslave him. She was killed on the spot. He explains the first time she offered Shadow 10 million to carry her, he refused. Later, tempted by cash, he sought her out hoping to pocket 5 million. But when he went to collect it in real life, Dodging Industry thugs knocked him out. He woke up locked in a basement, whipped for days, forced to grind lifespan and lure more victims. For that reason, if Zhongli is truly dead, then justice was served, he says. He formerly mocked Shadow for being foolish. Now he admits he was the real fool. Shadow studies him and comments that judging by his face, he was probably the sort who licked Zhongli's boots and helped kidnap many people. The boy denies it, but it's too late. The authorities have already moved in on him. At that moment, someone hiding near the clock sells Shadow coordinates for a silver boss, and they complete the trade. Ace of Spades arrives flanked by two favored companions. Rumors claim she's Chen Shishi, heiress of the Chen group in real life. Every man around her trembles because she's killed many players and strips lifespan without remorse. For her, the game is another shopping spree she uses money to breeze through by buying top gear and skills. She recruits frontline fodder and hunts players with lifespan to harvest. That approach is effortless for the wealthy and impossible for the poor. She's still irritated that the game made her miss a flight. She believes she should be enjoying herself in North America rather than stuck in this city and unable to leave the country. She eyes the trembling men, calls them weak, and tells her bodyguards they're far more handsome and manly. She daydreams about trying things when they return to reality and can't hide her impatience. She asks whether Songfei really died but shrugs. She'd toyed with him once and he only lasted a minute. Right now her attention is on Shadow because he's local and ranked number 1, which makes him worthy of her notice. If he could kill someone like Songfei, then dispatching an ordinary target should be trivial, so she decides to seize the chance to meet him. She logs off to place a call and have someone contact Shadow. While she's gone, she posts a contract offering 3,000 days of lifespan. Money might not sway her, but lifespan will, and all she asks is that he snap his fingers and eliminate a small target, a man who rejected her Qin Feng in real life. Xiao Yu has joined Zheng Wei's team, but she remains just as incompetent as ever. The scrawny kid requests she heal him faster next time so he won't come so close to meeting his ancestors. Xiao Yu is bratty and dismissive, telling him not to shout and that he should be grateful. We have no choice but to bicker with her, but she suddenly logs out, saying she's starving, and drags her friend Yen Yen along with her. The boy recalls how she once used to call him expert in that gentle, almost musical tone, yet now she treats him with disdain. Ever since she met Shadow, her attitude has shifted. She carries herself like someone above everyone else. Still, he's convinced that it's only a matter of time before her pride crumbles. In the real world, Xiao Yu has moved into an extravagant apartment, but she wakes up feeling ravenous. She soon realizes that every delivery app is shut down and no riders are available, as the entire city is too busy immersed in the game. A memory flashes back, how Qin Feng used to cook for her so she never had to worry about food or even lift a finger. She quickly shakes it off, convincing herself that freedom is far more valuable than food. She keeps telling herself she's strong, unrivaled, and perfectly capable of living better without her brother. Meanwhile, Shadow isn't sparing a single thought for Xiao Yu. He's busy battling another silver-tier crab and drives his blade down, crushing it into the dirt. In just over an hour, he's taken down more than 4 silver bosses. Each one grants him 16 evolution points. The loot from an average silver boss equals about 3,500 days of lifespan, allowing him to fully equip only gold tier or higher gear. His cooldown reduction has climbed from 55% to 75%, cutting the cooldown of his instant Shadow Slash from 12 seconds down to just 6.8. With no platinum bosses near the outskirts of Safetown, gold tier gear remains the current limit. His only real path forward now lies in class advancement through evolution points. Shadow also remembers that future platinum bosses possess at least level 2 stealth reduction. He must evolve fast and reach stealth level 3, which means saving around 20,000 experience points. Only at a stealth level beyond 3 can he safely challenge platinum bosses. In his previous life, it had taken a 20-man raid with perfect coordination to bring down even one. He decides to return to town and sell his loot to the government. His goal is clear, to stay ahead of every other player and claim the world's first platinum boss kill. Once back in town, he purchases another set of coordinates for a boss, paying 105 years of tradable lifespan. Just then, a man approaches him and says he's got a job, a hit, with excellent pay. Shadow brushes him off, but the man hurries after him, insisting the job's simple. All he needs to do is kill someone named Qin Feng. He'll even provide the address. Easy money, the man adds. That makes Shadow stop in his tracks. Because he is Qin Feng, he questions the man about the offer and who's behind it. The man refuses to answer, only revealing that the payment is 3,000 days of tradable lifespan. Shadow quickly calculates, that's worth about 50 million. Someone powerful clearly wants him dead. It can't be anyone from this life or his past one. It's far too early for old enemies to surface. In his previous life, grudges didn't appear until the mid or late stages of the game. The only person with both motive and means to target him this early is Chen Zishi. Only she would have the audacity to put a bounty on Qin Feng before the game had even properly begun. If Chen Zishi truly wanted Qin Feng gone before the game started, she should have done it long ago. The fact that she waited suggests another motive entirely. The hit is just a cover. Her real intent is likely to establish contact with Shadow. Killing Qin Feng is merely a bonus for her, revenge for the rejection he once gave her. Shadow finds her little plot amusing. He had planned to track her down eventually, but now she's come to him. He agrees to the deal on the condition that half the payment be made up front and that he alone decides when to complete the hit. The messenger starts sweating, explaining he needs authorization to approve the deposit. Once cleared, Shadow receives 500 days of tradable lifespan. He considers it an advance, interest even, and thinks to himself that she can wait. He'll be paying Chen Zishi a personal visit soon enough. The messenger hands over the target's location and details, which turn out to be his own address. Shadow walks away, promising results soon. Just then, a girl named Nai Bai stops him, saying she's heard he's been buying boss coordinates. She offers him the location of a gold tier boss, and suggests they verify the payment together. Bai tells him to follow her north of town. It's a bit of a trek, but she'll guide him. She explains the boss is a plague bearer, meaning she must have seen it firsthand. Again, she asks if he wants a healer since the boss spreads mild poison damage, but Shadow declines, saying he only needs her for directions. The plague bearer is indeed gold tier, and it emits a toxic aura that continuously drains HP from anyone nearby. To win, Shadow needs to finish the battle fast, but for him, a few well-placed skills are more than enough. Bai leads Shadow into a cave, explaining that her team had wiped out every rival group that tried the fight, but they themselves couldn't bring the boss down. She then points toward the golden tier monster, the Black Bearer, Shadow's next prey. Shadow finalizes the transaction while noting that the poison can be evaded through proper movement and that his Ghost Shadow's 75% dodge rate will serve him well. Yet Bai doesn't flee. Instead, guilt washes over her face as she warns him, it's actually a trap. Once he starts fighting, assassins will appear to kill him, armed with an item that grants level 2 anti-stealth. She confesses that they forced her to get close to him, uncover his real-world identity, and betray him. She admits she's being blackmailed in real life and actually wants those same people dead. Shadow calls it a foolish setup, but still asks who's behind it. Bai reveals it's Dongfang Xian, known in-game as Xian Yun, the same man Shadow had already slain once. He recalls that Dongfang was the one who tried to ambush him during a gold-tier boss fight earlier, then later attempted to appease him by offering an assassin's manual. Bai insists that if Shadow was capable of killing Sanfei, then taking care of Dongfang should be no problem at all. Shadow replies that it's not his main concern right now. His focus is solely on defeating the boss. Still, he doesn't mind turning Dongfang's plan on its head and letting those men die by their own trap instead. Before he departs, Bai tries to stop him, warning that her team once brought 18 people here and they were all annihilated in less than 30 seconds. She insists that the poison damage is overwhelming. Even if Shadow resists it, he'll still perish. She thinks about running, but then watches as Shadow calmly activates Blessed Release. Then comes Black Attack Enhancement, and the throat cut effect. With a single strike, he slices away 2/3 of the gold tier boss's HP, inflicting roughly 80,000 damage. He retreats to the cliff's edge, choosing not to finish the boss just yet. When Dongfang's men rush in, they fail to spot Shadow. He remains cloaked in stealth, so instead, they recklessly charge the boss. Bai quickly raises a golden shield, barely holding her ground against the chaos. Shadow observes that such powerful defense is rare at this stage of the game, and that very few could even hope to break through it. Not wanting to waste any more time, he unleashes Instant Somber Cut, erasing the men in one clean motion. He then casts Curse of the Blooming Flower, draining their remaining lifespans as crimson petals scatter. Bai doesn't understand what those eerie flowers mean, but she's grateful she chose not to follow Dongfang's plan. Otherwise, she would have shared their fate. She offers to add Shadow as a friend, promising that the next time Dongfang slips up, she'll help locate his real-world address. Shadow agrees and turns to leave, but she calls out again, saying that if there's any way she can repay him, she would be honored to do so. Shadow shows no interest and goes back to finish off the Black Bearer. Upon victory, he reaches level 7 and earns 505 days of longevity. The tradable life he drained from over 10 people can't even compare to what the boss rewarded him with, and he knows these enemies will never stop causing trouble. Shadow asks Bai if there's anything she wants, but she only wishes to leave. Using Greedy Hand, he loots an assassin skill book. It's called Darkest Moment, Platinum Tier. This assassin skill causes the blade to erupt in a burst of black light, blinding every enemy within its range. He realizes that by blinding his opponents without relying on stealth, he can still trigger double damage, which means no matter how high a boss's anti-stealth level becomes, his damage output won't falter. He also finds a Platinum Assassin Blade, boasting an attack power of over 2/16, requiring level 10 to wield. Its special trait causes each strike to inject a toxin that detonates after 3 seconds, dealing 50% of the weapon's base damage. Shadow feels immensely satisfied with his haul, having accumulated nearly 98 evolution points. He knows he's close to evolving his epic grade Greedy Hand into legendary grade. With only about 10,000 experience points left before his next advancement, he decides to earn them by hunting small creatures. He unleashes havoc upon the low-level sea beasts, slaying them all, and his job officially advances to the first tier. With that promotion, he gains an attribute boost. Strength, concentration, agility, and spirit all triple in value. His stealth duration doubles as well. He now feels unstoppable, capable of activating stealth while already invisible. As long as his cooldown remains sufficient, he can maintain permanent stealth. His field vision expands, tripling his awareness radius. This first-tier advancement feels so overwhelming that even Shadow finds it absurdly powerful, yet entirely worth it. Soon, an in-game announcement rings out. 7 players in Jinghai City have now reached level 10, and the teleportation array to the God-abandoned continent will activate in 10 minutes. Players are advised to prepare and gather at the listed coordinates if they wish to travel. Shadow remains ranked first, followed by Grey Rose in second and Wang Meng in third. All familiar names to him, yet he recalls that, in his previous life, the leaderboard at this stage had been dominated by foreign players. It seems his massive trade in gold and platinum gear, as well as skill books, has already begun reshaping the world's balance. He wonders how differently events will unfold this time, and the thought excites him. Meanwhile, in the real world, the authorities successfully arrest the core members of the dodging industrial criminal group. However, some of the 3 key figures remain logged into God Abandoned, and with their bodies in a virtual state, they cannot yet be detained. The inspector orders his team to notify Captain Ann, instructing her to find a way to force those suspects offline. The investigators agree it's a smart approach. Even if the criminals hide within safe towns, unable to be attacked, their real bodies will still suffer hunger. Once they log out to eat, they can be captured. They acknowledge that much of this success stems from Shadow's contributions. Not only had he exposed dodging industries, but he also warned them early about game abilities being extracted into reality. Had they acted any later, Zhongli and the others would have reached level 10 in extracted abilities, making them nearly untouchable. Across other nations, chaos has already erupted, claiming thousands of lives, yet Jiling City remains stable. Its government teams inside the game are armed with advanced gear, all thanks to Shadow's foresight. Back inside the game, Bai looks at him and murmurs what kind of hero he must be. Shadow frowns, asking what she means. She explains that the officials have publicly named him, the one who helped bring justice to the people. Since Song 3 had been secretly working together with Dodging Industries, orchestrating murders and imprisoning players, Shadow quickly realizes that the authorities are deliberately cleansing his reputation. Most likely, they find it far more convenient to have him on their side rather than against them. He then asks if Dongfeng's actual location has been identified. The response comes, Dongfeng hasn't logged off yet, so any updates will have to wait. But for Shadow, that no longer matters. Dealing with a scum like Dongfeng isn't part of his priorities anymore. His true goal lies far beyond this, the journey to God's abandoned continent. To him, the towns here are nothing but novice zones, mere training grounds before the real adventure begins once he steps onto that forsaken land. Shadow quietly activates his stealth mode before triggering teleportation. The moment he vanishes, the surrounding players are left bewildered, unable to spot him anywhere. They soon realize, however, that his stealth proficiency exceeds level 2, and so does his anti-stealth detection. In an instant, he reappears amidst the ruins of Jinghai City. As he treads carefully through the desolation, a lurking creature creeps up behind him. Without hesitation, he swings his blade, releasing a shadow slash that tears through the Earthshaker and ends it in a single strike. In forsaken zones like this, there are no safety boundaries. Monsters prowl freely, forcing every player to remain constantly vigilant. Yet, if one manages to find hidden shelters among the wreckage, they can seize those areas, establish strongholds, and lay claim to territory. Shadow remembers exactly where the best shelter in the Jinghai ruins lies, the northwest sector. That very location had once been the headquarters of the God-Slaying Guild in his previous life. With determination burning in his eyes, he makes his way toward it, intent on reclaiming what was once his. Around the same time, Wang Meng and his team finally arrive on the continent. As they look around, they realize the scenery is hauntingly familiar, the shattered remains of a once thriving city. Then it hits them. This is their own city. The Tower of Zhanling still stands tall before them, confirming their suspicion. Meng recalls hearing that Shadow was transferred to this exact area, yet he is nowhere to be seen. She begins her search for him, but before she can advance any further, two monstrous worms burst forth, charging straight at her team. Instinctively, they engage in combat and soon discover that even the ordinary monsters here possess the strength of silver-tier bosses from their earlier town. They fight with everything they have until Hei finally summons her prophetic fireball and obliterates the monstrous pair. Exhausted but alive, the group takes a moment to breathe. Meng then instructs Yishui to scout ahead using her owl companion. After a quick aerial survey, Yishui reports grimly that the entire area is infested with creatures, too many to count. Their recent battle has drawn even more monsters in their direction, and a full swarm is now approaching fast. With no safe zone in sight, anxiety spreads through the group, and the situation starts to feel eerily like a desperate survival game. Meng then orders Yishui to attempt locating Shadow, reasoning that since he arrived earlier, he couldn't be too far away. Yishui replies that there's no trace of him anywhere. However, she does spot a radiant glow rising from the northwest. It resembles the shimmer of freshly dropped loot from a slain monster. The team quickly realizes that it must be Shadow's doing, and if the loot still remains, it likely means his inventory is full, preventing him from picking it up. Without hesitation, Sun urges everyone to move out and follow the light. They all understand that the trail will inevitably lead them straight to Shadow. Meanwhile, Shadow himself is effortlessly cutting down monsters, relying on his instant Shadow Slash, a skill that deals devastating damage, reaching as high as 20 to 30,000 per strike. Against such weak creatures, they have no chance. Each falls instantly before him. Before long, he reaches the area where the hideout lies, but to his frustration, the entrance is buried deep beneath layers of rubble. Hidden below is a massive underground palace, an ancient labyrinth that, in his past life, had only been discovered much later. It houses over 1,000 resting chambers and a dozen vast halls, making it the largest shelter in all of Jinghai City. Eventually, this place would become the main base of his Gold Slayer Guild. For now, however, it remains a deadly dungeon filled with mechanical monsters and protected by a formidable guardian. As with every major hideout, the grander the structure, the more powerful the guardian that defends it. In his previous life, even with 3 full squads of 18 elite members, each level 15 and fully armed, they had barely managed to seize control of this place. But now, everything is different. He stands alone, yet he knows that his current strength alone is enough to claim the land of soul purification. The monsters lurking here are all level 12 gold elemental spirits, and they swarm him in unison. What they fail to realize is that he is no ordinary assassin. He's a master of the shadows. In a heartbeat, he envelops the area in absolute darkness, blinding every foe within range. Then, with lethal precision, he unleashes his instant shadow slash. One after another, the spirits fall, unable to offer even the slightest resistance. With their vision completely robbed, his every strike lands as a critical hit. Even his most basic abilities are enough to annihilate these level 12 minions on the spot. Before long, the main hall lies silent and clear of threats. Yet Shadow knows this victory marks only the beginning. Thousands of chambers remain, each crawling with enemies. Many more battles await him beyond these walls. Once he eliminates the lesser monsters, he will finally have enough resources to evolve his greedy hand skill once again. And once every last monster has fallen, the Guardian boss will finally emerge. An encounter that Shadow has been anticipating with excitement rather than fear. Before long, all the players who have reached level 10 across the world arrive at the gods' abandoned continent. The moment they step foot there, they instantly recognize the shattered remains of the cities that once belonged to them. New York, London, Babel, Paris. Every place that once stood tall and proud now lies in absolute ruin. Everything that symbolized human civilization has turned into lifeless debris. And now, they are surrounded by countless monsters acting as guards, with no safe towns or sanctuaries anywhere in sight. Within the ruins of Shanghai, Wang Meng and his team take refuge in hiding, utterly exhausted after fending off endless waves of creatures. Their true objective is not to fight, but to locate Shadow, the one person capable of leading them to safety. Captain Anne, however, finds her mind elsewhere, constantly drifting toward thoughts of the mysterious assassin and his unimaginable strength. As she speaks endlessly about him, Shadow himself continues his relentless grind elsewhere, effortlessly slaying monsters as though they were nothing. Her fascination makes Meng slightly uneasy, though he keeps his feelings to himself. In that quiet moment, Little Black breaks the silence and asks what would happen if they died here. Where would they respawn? None of them can provide an answer, so they turn their hopes toward Shadow, trusting that he might uncover the truth. Meng then advises Captain Anne that the 6 of them shouldn't move forward recklessly. Instead, they should wait until everyone reaches level 10 before advancing together. Meanwhile, Isho continues tracing Shadow's movements by following the glowing trail of loot he has left behind. Eventually, she notices that the trail abruptly ends at one particular location, meaning Shadow must have vanished there. She considers taking the loot for herself but ultimately resists the temptation, knowing the risk could be fatal. Meng then says he will contact Shadow directly, and only if Shadow confirms that he doesn't need the loot will they proceed to claim it. At that very time, Shadow has already cleared 4 massive halls and over 1,000 smaller chambers. He has slain more than 400 monsters, including 4 bronze-tier bosses and 2 silver-tier ones, earning over 80,000 experience points and raising his evolution points to 205. Only 5 more are needed for his greedy hand to evolve again. Just then, he receives a message from Meng, asking for his location and informing him that they're nearby after following his trail. Meng also admits to having picked up some of his loot, but promises to compensate him later. Shadow replies calmly that he'll reach out once he's ready to sell a batch of equipment. Meng then sends their coordinates, telling him they're waiting safely inside the ruins bunker. It's at that very moment that the Palace Guardian finally reveals itself. The Soul Purifier, Fai Saer, a level 15 platinum-grade boss, stands before him. To claim full ownership of the palace, Shadow must defeat this formidable enemy. The monsters scattered throughout the ruined city reach as high as level 15, but none compare to the Soul Purifier, the strongest of them all, boasting 750,000 HP and 3 distinct phases. In his previous life, the Purifier's Thunderstrike had been devastating. Even with full gold-tier armor, Shadow had barely survived. But this time, things are different. Before the boss can even gather the energy for its Thunderstrike, Shadow moves first. He launches instant Shadow Slash combined with Slit Throat, tearing deep into the boss's body as his experience points surge upward. The Soul Purifier retaliates, managing to unleash a Thunderstrike. But Shadow's incredible agility allows him to narrowly dodge the blast in time. Had the lightning hit him, his current defenses and resistances wouldn't have saved him. He would have been killed instantly. Skills from Platinum bosses come with enhanced accuracy, while Shadow's dodge rate stands at 75% against normal monsters, giving them only a 25% hit chance. A level 15 Platinum boss's accuracy can rise to 50%. Thankfully, Shadow's unmatched speed allows him to move at over 40 meters per second. As long as he remains alert, he can evade every strike before it lands. Determined, Shadow vows not to grant the Soul Purifier even a single opportunity to attack again. He unleashes another devastating combo, instantly stripping away 250,000 HP. The blow pushes the boss into its second phase. In this phase, the Purifier becomes temporarily invincible, summoning multiple lightning orbs that lock onto him. The only way to survive is to destroy the orbs first, otherwise the boss will enter a berserk state. In his past life, Shadow's entire raid team had been wiped out by that berserk assault, and his sister's fury afterward had driven her to quit the game entirely. On the second attempt, he excluded her from the raid, and that time, the team had succeeded. Now, reborn and unburdened by guilt, Shadow takes aim and fires poison darts, destroying each orb one by one. Each explosion also inflicts damage upon the soul purifier, as part of its life force is directly connected to those orbs. Once all the orbs are shattered, the boss roars and transitions into Phase 3. A violent surge of electricity bursts from its body, marking the beginning of the final phase. The soul purifier unleashes relentless AoE lightning attacks. In his past life, his guild had to equip every member with lightning-resistant armor, and even with 4 priests constantly casting shields and heals, they barely survived. This time, none of that is necessary. Shadow leaps high into the air, reasoning that since lightning ravages the ground, the safest way to fight is from above. He combines graceful release with dark light shields, soaring through the air before diving down with precise strikes. Using instant shadow slash once more, he cuts straight through the soul purifier. The level 15 platinum boss is annihilated, reduced to nothing but dust. Shadow reaches level 11, gaining 10 free attribute points and 20 evolution points. He also becomes the first player in the world to defeat a platinum grade boss, earning 10 reputation points. More importantly, he claims the title of Master of the Land of Soul Purification. The hideout he now owns not only provides in-game protection but also serves as a storage hub. Everything within it can even be transferred into the real world. In his past life, when the godforsaken game manifested into reality, all existing weapons began to decay. Even the most catastrophic ones, like nuclear bombs, became completely unusable from the very first day. Other advanced weapons such as fighter jets and tanks continued functioning briefly, but within a month or two, they too turned into worthless scrap. Eventually, all battles in the real world depended solely on the powers and resources drawn from the godforsaken game. The hideouts brought into reality became sanctuaries, fortified with impenetrable magic barriers that turned them into the world's last strongholds. Shadow recalls countless moments, some filled with triumph, others drenched in sorrow. Yet, it's the painful memories that linger most vividly, for he had witnessed too many lives rise and fall, too many alliances crumble, and a world consumed by endless deceit and conflict. This time, he refuses to walk that same road again. He'll forge his own strength and keep ascending until he reaches the very peak, where no one can ever bring him down. Meanwhile, Xiaoyu remains stuck at rock bottom. Even there, she proves utterly useless, getting wiped out over and over by the weakest monsters. It's almost laughable how she still can't fight properly even with a massive axe. This time, Xiaoyu loses her temper completely and starts bickering with Wei, blaming him for all their failures. Left with no other choice, the boy quits the party. At that moment, Yan, still trapped mid-battle, panics when she realizes their tank has left. Before she can recover, she too dies and respawns. When she returns, she tells Xiaoyu they should stick to weaker mobs and level up gradually. She warns that their lifespan is dropping fast and confesses she's terrified. Xiaoyu only nods, pretending to agree, but deep down, she couldn't care less. Then, a system announcement echoes. Player Shadow has slain a platinum-grade boss. The entire server is stunned, unable to believe anyone could be that powerful. Xiaoyu instantly lashes out at her teammates, accusing them of being too weak to even kill a silver boss, while Shadow has already taken down a platinum one. As usual, she refuses to shoulder any blame herself. Shadow, meanwhile, calmly distributes his attribute points and experience. He pours everything into agility, knowing that as long as his speed stays unmatched and he maintains infinite stealth, he can keep killing bosses without ever getting hit. He hadn't expected the platinum boss to yield 20 evolution points. With that bounty, he evolves the Greedy Hand from Epic to Legendary. Its passive effect unlocks greed space, granting him 100 storage slots. The bonus is incredible, and he can't wait to stash every item he owns inside. Using Greedy Hand, he gathers up the loot and finds 5 bonus items plus another 100 evolution points. 2 of the items suit assassins, and 1 is an assassin skill book. Since he's still underleveled, he tucks them away safely for later. He then orders his devout follower to pile everything neatly together for sorting. With roughly 11.5 evolution points remaining, he upgrades his non-epic skills to epic level 1 stealth, enhanced backstab, and moment of darkness, all ascending to epic rank. He also raises Curse of Blooming Flowers to Legendary, which triggers a startling discovery. The flowers can now absorb non-tradable lifespan as well. In high-tier zones and boss rage areas, players often lose hundreds or even thousands of lifespan units, and non-tradable lifespan is always consumed first. Meaning from now on, he'll never run out again. It's a god-tier ability, and Shadow is thrilled by the result. Naibai messages him to congratulate his platinum kill and says she's got good news. Dongfeng Xian has finally logged out. She's also heard that their family is hosting a banquet at Jiangang Restaurant, bringing an enormous amount of lifespan to convert into condensed power in-game. She warns that if he fails to wipe out the entire family this time, she's finished. Shadow understands. After collecting the loot from his devout follower and freeing half his inventory, he decides to meet Wang Meng and sell everything off. When he reaches the coordinates, Captain Anne runs toward him like he's her boyfriend. Shadow brushes her off and gets straight to business. He names his price, saying they can take it or leave it. Most of the gear is bronze tier, so he offers it at a discounted rate, 950 lifespan. Wang Meng doesn't haggle, he instantly transfers 2,000 lifespan. The deal closes fast. Shadow then unveils a second batch: silver, gold, even platinum gear worth around 18,000 tradable lifespan. Wang Meng, delighted, pays in full without hesitation. Little Black glances at Shadow and asks if he's dormant, but Shadow ignores the jab. Instead, he offers them a hint. Beneath the stone statue in the city ruins lies a stairway leading to a teleport circle that returns players to the starting village. The trip costs 500 lifespan. Once re-entered, returning is free. He advises them to think carefully before using it and leaves. They watch him go, murmuring that he must be a reincarnator. No one else could know secrets that deep. Wang Meng sighs and tells Anne to stop flirting. It's embarrassing and giving everyone a headache. Shadow then manifests his abilities in the real world, syncing his levels and evolutions perfectly. The process consumes 27,000 days of lifespan. He extracts additional skills like Shadow Stealth and levels it up to 10 by spending even more lifespan. He also transfers Backstab Enhancement, Greedy Hand, Instant Slash, Shadow Stealth, Curse of Blooming Flower, Blacklight Shield, Stealth Boots, and Pendant of the Faithful into reality. The Pendant of Youthful Faith does more than reduce cooldown. It makes his devout follower nearly invincible outside the game. After exhausting his reserves, only 486 days of tradable lifespan remain, but now his real-world power almost matches his in-game strength, enough for the moment. Still, he knows he must gather far more lifespan, so that during his next logout, he can achieve full synchronization. For now, he logs out and wakes up in bed. The first thing he realizes is that Chang Shishi has learned his address and put a hit order on him. To stay safe, he must move immediately. Constructing a land of soul purification hideout would cost over 1,300 years of lifespan, far beyond his means. So, he resolves to secure a temporary base first. He gathers his equipment with Greedy Hand, then leaps out the window without hesitation, ignoring the fact that he lives in a high-rise. The Dongfang family restaurant gathering is only 15 minutes away, and at his current speed, he'll reach it in 10. He races forward like a bullet train, moving so fast no one even perceives him passing. Inside the restaurant, the Dongfang family enjoys their meal, casually discussing their in-game strategy. At the head of the table sits the patriarch, the grandfather of Dongfang Xian. Xian explains that, with the current changes, in-game skills and lifespan now directly influence the real world. For their family, it's a golden chance to establish dominance from the very start. Everyone praises him, and even the old man nods approvingly, proud of his grandson's foresight. The family has already purchased a massive amount of tradable lifespan, spending it on high-end gear and skill books. Their goal: raise all core members to level 10 as fast as possible to secure an early lead. Once they achieve that, they'll expand their control both in-game and in reality, ensuring their clan's supremacy for millennia. But deep down, Xian secretly wishes the old man would die so he could claim the family throne himself. His plan is simple. Once he captures Shadow, he'll extract his secrets, force him to share his method for extending lifespan, and then eliminate everyone standing in his way. With that power, he intends to reign at the very top, even if it means slaughtering his own bloodline. The grandfather then asks about Shadow's current situation. Xian confidently replies that there's no need to worry. They've already recruited a reliable woman to lure out Shadow's true identity, and she'll contact them soon. What he doesn't realize is that the same woman has already betrayed them. She's exposed their entire plan, revealed Shadow's identity, and the assassin is already en route to wipe them out. Meanwhile, as expected, Shadow stands silently outside the restaurant. He can hear their voices from within, but all the guards outside have already been slaughtered, none left breathing. He hadn't anticipated that some family members would still be armed, and he knows Shadow's stealth and blacklight shield won't block every bullet. Since he didn't bring much defensive gear into reality, one clean shot to the head or heart would mean instant death. Because of that, he sends his devout follower in first. His command is simple: kill everyone inside, no survivors. The undead follower storms in, claws blazing with green fire, and the massacre begins. Screams echo as the Dongfang family grabs their guns and fires wildly. But their bullets can't pierce a silver-tier boss. The creature engulfs them in green flames, tearing their bodies apart one by one. Even the family patriarch isn't spared. The old man tries to flee, thinking if he can just log back into the game, he might survive. But he's far too late. Shadow is already there, waiting. With a single, clean slash, Shadow severs his head. He then activates the Curse of Blooming Flowers to harvest the old man's lifespan. Instantly, he absorbs 27,000 days of tradable lifespan and 482 years of non-tradable lifespan. Another profitable day for Shadow. The Cursed Flower delivers a chilling bonus. It doesn't just erase corpses and blood traces. It also devours every fragment of lifespan from the dead. With this, Shadow's non-tradable lifespan soars to nearly 23,027 years. He knows that when he enters high-intensity zones later, the pressure will be far easier to manage. Soon after, distant screams and sirens echo police are closing in. That's his cue to leave. When the armed units finally storm the restaurant and fling open the doors, not a single corpse remains. They only report hearing heavy gunfire earlier. But there are no bodies, no blood, not even a trace of violence left behind. Everyone has simply vanished without a sign. Shadow exits the area quietly, already contemplating his next move. The Qian Group headquarters has long since relocated to North America, but the president's daughter Qian Zishi is still here. She must be eliminated before she leaves the country. The distance from Jinghai City to Modu City is nearly 300 kilometers. Traveling on foot would waste 2 to 3 hours time he doesn't have, so he decides to use the game as transport. With that in mind, he logs back in. Inside the game, Shadow plans to kill a few silver and gold tier bosses in the ruins to pass the time. Just then, Captain Anne messages him. She reports that Little Black discovered the entrance to a temple, but it's guarded by a gold tier vengeful ghost they couldn't defeat. On their return to the starting town, they took a detour to avoid weak monsters. And midway through that detour, they realized someone was missing. After a quick search, they found that Hay had fallen into a hidden pit. Because it's a special tomb area, Team Chat was disabled. They followed the hole down and encountered a level 12 gold boss, slashing madly after them. Luckily, they ran fast enough to escape. Anne asks if he wants the coordinates. Shadow smirks at Little Black's absurd luck, finding a special tomb just by wandering around. He requests the coordinates and Anne reminds him to sell them the loot later. Shadow notes, amused, that she's always the shrewd business type. Upon arriving at the site, he finds a well serving as the entrance. Without hesitation, he jumps in. The system instantly alerts him that long-range communication is blocked. After advancing only a few steps, he encounters a gold-tier vengeful ghost wielding a massive sword. In his past life, he never met this boss, but from its stance, he can tell it's a high-power, long-range physical attacker. Now he understands perfectly why Anne and her team fled in terror. Shadow evades its strikes. One hit would mean certain death. Then he counters with graceful release, instant shadow slash, and slit throat, killing the boss in an instant. Its defense is formidable, and even his instant shadow slash only inflicts 80% of normal damage. As he turns to leave, one of the creature's severed limbs suddenly crashes to the ground beside him. That sight alone is an ill omen because this type of monster tends to explode like a bomb when it dies. A moment later, the curse explosion detonates. His own recklessness nearly costs him his life right then and there. Luckily, Shadow Stealth activates just in time. Without it, he would have been nothing but ashes. In his previous life, he once encountered a similar situation when their team defeated a boss they had never faced before. One overexcited teammate dashed in to loot the corpse, only to be instantly killed by a hidden curse explosion. Sometimes, entire parties were wiped out that way. He never imagined that even a gold-tiered tomb boss could self-destruct in the same cruel fashion. Shadow then extends his greedy hand and acquires a Dark Knight Ringblade, Platinum, along with 110 units of tradable lifespan. It's quite a rewarding haul. The Dark Knight Ringblade Platinum skill allows him to shroud his weapon in dark energy, unleash attacks that strike every enemy within a 5-meter radius, inflict dark elemental damage, and add an additional 500 dark damage points. He decides to evolve the skill to epic rank to see what changes it brings. After the evolution, the attack radius expands from 5 meters to 12 meters. The bonus damage also increases, jumping from 500 to 1,300 points. Though it's an area of effect skill, the individual bonus damage remains moderate. Overall, its total output per cast is still weaker than Shadow Slash, yet for clearing groups of smaller enemies, it becomes a gold tier ability. Shadow Slash only strikes in a 5-meter line, whereas the Ringblade can annihilate enemies encircling him. He also obtains the Resentment Armor, Platinum, granting him over 30 base attack power. While the resentment effect itself offers little practical benefit, the armor's base defense, resistance, and block rate are excellent, powerful enough to replace his current level 5 gold Ghostfire leather armor. The remaining loot piles up to over 20 items. Selling them would fetch more than 10,000 days of lifespan. Now that he's gained entry to the tomb, he intends to search for even better equipment, and if luck smiles on him, perhaps a worthy mount as well. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu and her friend Yan Yan keep getting knocked out repeatedly by beginner-level monsters. Alongside them suffers Wei, who is utterly exasperated that he's stuck in a team with someone as useless as Xiao Yu. Furious, he grabs her by the collar, snarling that she's all body, no brains, and that every one of their deaths is her fault. He has only 2 years of lifespan left. He warns her never to approach him at school again, or he'll kill her himself, then shoves her aside and logs out. Xiao Yu is left trembling, consumed by burning rage. Yan Yan gently suggests they could move to her parents' town, where a community aid group helps the elderly and those unable to play the game. But Xiao Yu, blinded by pride and emotion, cannot think clearly or make rational choices. She lashes out, shouting that Yan Yan can go alone if she wants. The next morning, she wakes, still fuming, her anger unrelenting. Grabbing her phone, she starts messaging all her male fans, asking if any of them would help her. One after another, they turn her down, calling her stupid and pathetic, since everyone knows she only ever tries to mooch off them. After exhausting every contact, she's left with no one to rely on. Tears spill down her face as she convinces herself that no one suffers more than she does. Then she suddenly remembers her brother, the only one who has never abandoned her. She believes he'll surely know how to make everything right again. So she decides to find him, already rehearsing in her mind how she'll cry a little, speak softly, and apologize just enough to win his sympathy. She searches for him, but no one answers her calls. She keeps pounding on the door again and again until she finally forces it open and barges inside. But the room is empty. Everything is gone. When she tries calling him, his number no longer exists. Just like everyone else in her life, her brother too has cut all ties with her. Meanwhile, deep within the tomb of resentment, Shadow finally reaches the innermost chamber after slaying every last monster along the way. He revives his loyal undead follower once more, and together they cut through nearly 200 additional monsters, including several bronze and silver bosses. With that, Shadow's level now approaches 12. The only thing left is the coffin before him. Opening it will summon the tomb's final boss, and he hopes it will be a Platinum Tier 1. He resurrects his devout follower once again and orders it to open the coffin. As he expected, the boss instantly obliterates the zombie. Yet the creature itself has no physical body. It's a gold-tier boss known as Deadly Miasma, a being composed entirely of noxious fog, completely immune to physical attacks. Shadow recalls from his past life that when this boss first appeared, the toxic mist spread all the way to the nearest player base. Those unaware of the danger suffered massive losses. Anyone engulfed by the fog faced certain death, unless exorcised or protected by a class with special immunity. Its true form hides within the poisonous haze, but Shadow remains calm. He swings his Dark Knight ring blade, channeling dark power through its edge, and in an instant, the deadly miasma is vanquished. Though labeled as gold tier, its strength easily rivaled that of platinum. Even so, the loot it drops is only of gold grade. Shadow feels a faint sting of disappointment for not obtaining platinum gear, but then, something about the drop catches his attention. Among the scattered treasures lies a rare drop, the Mount Bell. Only then does he realize he's just obtained his very first mount. Once again, fate proves that luck never strays far from Shadow's side. The Mount Bell grants him the ability to summon a Ghost Knight Wolf at level 11, a creature that can both fight beside him and serve as his steed. Renowned as one of the fastest early-stage mounts, it levels up in sync with its master. It possesses Swift Sprint, which increases its movement speed by 245%, Nightwalker, granting permanent level 1 stealth during nighttime that breaks upon attack, and Triple Pounce, allowing it to strike a single target 3 consecutive times with bonus damage. It also comes with Wolf Howl, a skill that boosts attack power, physical defense, and elemental resistance by 35%, making it both a mount and a combat companion. For Shadow, this is an enormous win. Riding atop his new wolf, he dashes through the city streets. His next objective is clear to reach level 15 and gather enough lifespan to eventually extract from the game. Once he logs out again, he plans to head to Madu and eliminate Chan Zishi, cutting off any lingering threats. For now, he makes his way toward Jinghai Arena, a colossal complex with 2 underground levels, a labyrinthine layout, and countless monsters, an ideal place for swift leveling. Monster Knights stand guard around the platform. But Shadow descends silently from above and eradicates them all in one clean sweep using instant Shadow Slash. The following day, Captain and her team are engaged in battle against monsters. Ma Neiliang, son of the Jinghai City Bureau Director, cheers her on loudly and compliments her combat prowess. Secretly, his eyes linger on her rare Hidden Dragon Swordsman class, captivated by her strength. He stares at her with obvious desire until she begins speaking admiringly of Shadow. Instantly, his attitude sours. He scoffs that Shadow is nothing but a sneaky assassin who hides in the shadows to chip away at bosses, declaring there's nothing heroic about that. In his arrogance, he believes Anne should be grateful for his attention, since with his family's status, she could live in wealth and comfort. But Anne is not a woman swayed by empty praise. She immediately insults him. Unable to endure the rejection, he retaliates by slandering Shadow further, calling him immoral and bloodthirsty. He claims that in real life, Shadow is probably a criminal hiding from justice, and even suggests setting a trap to expose his true identity. In his mind, only by forcing Shadow to work under government supervision could people truly feel safe. Otherwise, he insists, tragedies like Songfei's death would continue, leaving society in constant fear. Anne and Meng exchange glances and then burst out laughing, openly mocking his ignorance. His attempt to appear righteous backfires completely, leaving him red-faced with anger, stomping in frustration while everyone else dismisses him. Meng soon turns serious, admitting that while Ma sounds paranoid, he might have a point. He recalls the Jianggang restaurant case, where the Dongfeng family mysteriously vanished during a gathering. He wonders whether the authorities know Shadow was involved and are deliberately covering it up. They still don't fully understand Shadow's true nature. Meng even speculates that in the real world, Shadow might be a serial killer. Anne responds that the case is under strict investigation and that many already suspect Shadow's involvement. But there's no concrete proof linking him to it. She adds calmly that even if the rumors were true, she would still cooperate with him. If the higher-ups refuse to clean up his messes, she'll handle them herself. Meng can't comprehend why she remains so loyal to Shadow, unaware that deep down she simply wants to stay close to him. Suddenly, Yi, another teammate, calls out, "They've discovered a gladiator-style arena in the next zone. Every monster inside lies dead, and the ground is littered with corpses." No one can imagine what kind of team could have slaughtered them all. When they reach the palace chamber, they're stunned by the sheer amount of loot scattered across the floor. Instantly, they recognize the handiwork. It must be Shadow's doing. They hope luck is on their side and that they might cross paths with him. But Niliang and Neo Link throw tantrums, insisting Shadow isn't the only one capable of such feats. According to Niliang, if he possessed stealth abilities, he could easily do the same. He just doesn't have the time. Meanwhile, Anne is already messaging her crush, asking if he has spare equipment or skill books for sale. At that very moment, Shadow arrives, riding his fearsome mount and knocks Naliang flat on his back. Everyone, including Anne, stares wide-eyed at the majestic wolf beneath him. Shadow explains that he discovered it using the coordinates they'd shared, and with a faint grin, he thanks his little partner, calling him his lucky charm. He then offers Anne everything on the ground at the same fair price as usual. Without hesitation, she accepts, paying him immediately. She knows Shadow always treats them fairly. Niliang burns with humiliation, vowing to one day take revenge on Shadow, but deep down, he knows he must wait for his moment. Shadow, now level 13, finishes clearing out the Colosseum Arena ruins. There, he obtains a gold-tier skill book, Silent Stealth. The skill allows him to remain completely invisible indefinitely, as long as he doesn't attack or move. Once he strikes, it adds an extra 300 stealth-breaking damage. Beyond enhancing his stealth, it also carries terrifying potential in the real world. When combined with the invincibility frame triggered upon logging in, it lets him vanish from reality entirely. With this upgrade, he ascends instantly to Epic grade. He still has evolution points left, which he uses to strengthen more abilities, raising Poison Dagger to Epic and Grace Unsealed to Mythic rank. He also secures the Liar's Pendant, a platinum-grade assassin accessory. As he examines his gear and abilities together, he realizes his stealth mastery has reached level 4, a stage that no one can detect or counter. Equipping the Veil of Shadow, a gold assassin item, boosts his dodge rate to an astounding 83%. While roaming the city atop his mount, he suddenly spots an enormous metallic figure towering ahead, the Steel Saintess. This boss is on an entirely different level. In his past life, only the most reckless dared to provoke her. She had appeared once in the Jinghai ruins where over 1,000 players joined the raid and more than 4,000 lost their lives. She isn't just another monster, but the guardian of the church sanctum, the second largest sanctuary within the Jinghai ruins. Shadow had originally planned to deal with Zishi before confronting her, but since fate has presented the opportunity early, he decides to strike now. As he approaches, he notices a group of players already attempting to challenge her, but in truth, they're merely dying one after another. That's when he catches sight of a familiar face, Chen Wuming. Chen Wuming is a hidden class, Templar Knight, an old rival who battled Shadow for 9 long years in his previous life without ever achieving a decisive victory. In truth, Wuming was cunning and underhanded, always relying on tricks and retreating whenever defeat loomed. In that former timeline, it had been Wuming's guild, the Knights Sanctum, who ultimately brought down the Steel Saintess. Players once claimed that the western lands were under the reign of Blade God, while the eastern side was ruled by King Sanctum, each guild holding absolute power over their respective ruins. Wuming bound every recruit under ruthless contracts that resembled slavery, offering protection in exchange for half their lifespan. Most of his subordinates were black slaves, existing solely to serve the guild's elite combatants. It was a merciless system that had served him well for years. But this time, Shadow believes Wuming's luck has finally run out. Shadow hurls himself into the chaos of the battlefield, brandishing his Dark Knight Ringblade. With one sweeping strike, he annihilates everyone around him. Wuming, dumbstruck, tries to reason with him, protesting that if it truly is Shadow before him, they have no quarrel, so why would Shadow slaughter his own people? Shadow gives no reply. Instead, he executes instant Shadow Slash and ends Wuming's life in an instant. Without hesitation, he casts the Curse of the Cursed Flower, absorbing every drop of their lifespan into himself. When the fallen players resurrect, terror grips them as they realize their lifespans are once again being drained by Shadow's curse. The only way to reclaim the lost years is to log off and re-enter the game. Among those victims lies Xiao Yu. She stares at her life bar in horror, realizing that nearly all of it has vanished. Shadow also notices the truth, that he has slain his own sister and absorbed her remaining time. Yet in his mind, she has earned this fate, merely reaping the consequences of her choices. Just then, the Steel Saintess charges at him with no warning. Shadow instantly evades using Faint Ghost Shadow. At first, her opening phase seems manageable, but when the Saintess realizes her prey has slipped away, she whirls her enormous axes in furious arcs. It's all for nothing. Shadow has already soared skyward with graceful release. He chains the maneuver with Blade, following up with a ruthless slit throat. The attack lands with overwhelming force, leaving the Saintess momentarily stunned. But the true horror is only beginning, for her transformation into a guardian stems from her monstrous second phase. Once her HP drops to half, the demon sealed inside her awakens, granting her the power to reflect all incoming damage equally back upon her attacker. Some even whisper that within the demon's stomach lies a portal to an unknown realm, though in Shadow's past life, that rumor was never confirmed. Meanwhile, a party of warriors stands on a nearby rooftop, observing the battle below and whispering about how the moving shadows once lured men to their doom. They debate whether the fighter below is truly Shadow but can't reach a consensus. Everyone knows only one man could stand against a titanium-level boss. Even Shadow senses their eyes on him, yet he chooses to ignore them. The Saintess's second phase does possess one weakness. Each time she attacks, her reflection ability temporarily fades. Striking in that instant avoids the backlash, but Shadow knows his favorite combos. Instant Shadow Slash, Slit Throat, Blade, and Poison Dagger all inflict lingering damage. Even a delayed hit would trigger the Reflect and kill him instantly given his current stats. He notices nearby players observing the fight, and begins to formulate a plan to use them as part of his strategy. Around that moment, Captain arrives on the scene. The group explains that they've memorized all of the boss's few skills, though she has just entered a new phase. Shadow had been soloing earlier, but now he has vanished. Captain Safety orders Xiao Yu to activate Red Eye to locate him. Even with level 3 stealth detection, she finds no trace of Shadow and assumes he has left. Believing the field clear, Captain Safety leaps into combat, telling his team to stay alert and warn him if Shadow reappears. His companions voice concern, but their trust in their captain outweighs their fear. They recall his flawless record as one of the game's top-tier players. How in the early towns he once survived a full burst assault without taking a single hit. Once a world-class soul-type game streamer, his reflexes remain razor-sharp. Now he channels those instincts into battling the boss. Cheers erupt as he lands a piercing lunge that splits into 3 Shadow copies, each striking the Saintess with perfect precision. Before anyone can react, her HP plummets to 1/3. The team roars in triumph, riding a surge of adrenaline while Captain smirks with satisfaction. But his arrogance blinds him to the worst kind of counter, being a platinum-tier boss. The Saintess reflects every attack. The rebounded damage crushes him instantly. His team freezes in disbelief. None of them can comprehend what just happened. From afar, Shadow watches silently. He observes how Captain Safety's relentless offense forced the boss to burn through many abilities, and during that chaos, her HP had dropped substantially. The warrior's power was impressive, yet his demise, a victim of his own assault, was both tragic and predictable. Still, this chaos grants Shadow his best opening. As the Saintess turns to retreat toward the church for recovery, Shadow realizes that letting her escape would render everything meaningless. He knows he must confront her directly and end this battle once and for all. Captain Safety's team finally grasps that Shadow has been watching all along, and that the captain's grand performance was nothing but an illusion. Shadow activates his blacklight shield, layering 10 barriers, each capable of absorbing 1 strike. The boss attacks immediately. He follows up by reinforcing his energy shield with 7 layers. After the impact, 3 of his blacklight barriers shatter, leaving only 7 intact. Without them, he would already be dead. The Saintess dives again. This time, her fiery breath obliterates all of his shields in a single blast. Had he reacted even half a second slower, he would have perished on the spot. She charges once more. Shadow realizes his only hope now lies in alternating blacklight shield with black instant shadow attack. His pace slows, cautious but precise, and even the onlookers can hardly believe anyone could survive such onslaught. After a long, brutal exchange, Shadow lands the decisive strike, bringing down the titanium tier Steel Saintess. He receives 48,000 experience points, 120 evolution points, and the key to the church sanctum. Using Greedy Hand, he gathers the loot. Among the spoils is the Black Flame's gift, a bone-piercing leather armor boasting unmatched defense. It infuses each attack with layers of black flame that erode the enemy's defense and elemental resistance by 7% per stack, up to 5. Its passive further amplifies that effect, surpassing even the gear dropped by the Purifier boss. He also obtains Assassin's Intuition and Emberland Eye, which allows him to detect outlines of hidden foes. Finding it invaluable, he upgrades Emberland Eye to Legendary, then uses his remaining 97 points to elevate Shadow Stealth to Legendary as well. Captain Anne rushes over, eager to know what items he intends to sell. Without hesitation, she spends 45,000 days of lifespan to buy them all. Shadow then mentions he has something else for sale, asking if they're familiar with hideouts. Anne explains that hideouts serve as bases for storage and can activate defensive barriers to repel intrusions. Shadow tells her of a small hideout dropped by a gold-grade boss. Anne confirms the concept but notes that none have been discovered in their city. Only in Magic City did the authorities seize a mid-sized one, which is how people learned about them. Shadow replies that if she truly understands their worth, she should recognize the immense value of the Cathedral Sanctum hideout key he just acquired. Anne and Meng are left speechless. Shadow elaborates that the larger the hideout, the greater its defense and infrastructure. An 800-month hideout could grant every member of the Yang authorities their own quarters. Anne nervously asks for his price. Shadow tells her to negotiate with the authorities first and return with an offer. Inwardly, he recalls that in his previous life, such a hideout was worth 2,000 years of lifespan, and selling it now could give him enough to extract every piece of gear, skill, and level into reality. Anne agrees to report it, but adds there's something urgent he needs to hear. Reports have arrived from Darkmoon Town, 7 gold-tier bosses have gathered, and countless players have been slain. The authorities are offering 10 years of lifespan to anyone who can assist. Shadow calmly notes that if there are only 7, the authorities should manage, but he suspects there's more to the story. Anne admits it's true, they did defeat one, but it revived. After that, all 7 bosses' stats surged uncontrollably, wiping out their entire squad in seconds. Shadow ponders the situation and concludes they might be puppets, created through the cursed slate derived from the ancient goldstone tablet. If it truly is the ancient gold slate, then this is an opportunity he cannot ignore. He requests the coordinates and immediately departs. While riding his mount, he spots a group of girls bullying Xiao Yu. They beat her mercilessly, accusing her of joining the guild only to flirt with the leader. They never give her a chance to defend herself. Shadow muses that ever since she entered the Night Temple, she's been trapped in meaningless power games, the kind of petty strife he'd witnessed countless times in his past life. Back then, he always shielded his sister out of love. But this time, he leaves Xiao Yu to fend for herself as he departs the continent. Beneath the colossal statue at the heart of the ruins, he uncovers a secret chamber, a teleportation gate to the starting town. Few know of its existence, and teleportation isn't cheap. The first use costs 500 days of lifespan, the second 1,000, the third 2,000, doubling each time thereafter. The reason lies in how the starting town evolves, slowly transforming into a higher, more perilous region, where weak monsters ascend into bosses and hidden treasures await discovery. Directly before him lies a rare treasure, the ancient god tablet, an artifact Shadow must claim. Bosses have already appeared in Darkmoon Town, a location that only emerges at the very end game, one he never reached in his past life. Here, the young assist the elderly in battling monsters, and in return, the elders reward them with several years of lifespan. Shadow notices an old woman hoarding her rewards, refusing to share. Without hesitation, he strikes her down instantly and instructs the authorities to collect the spoils. Then he recalls that the Dream Sand River Guild operates out of this town. Since its inception, the guild engaged in charitable acts, helping elders enter the gods' abandoned continent for free until they gained official recognition and government backing. Now, it stands as the largest association in the north, the kind of group the world truly needs. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu's friend Yan Yan fights monsters alongside her family, putting every ounce of effort and determination into the battle. Together, they defeat the creatures and return to town. Her mother questions Xiao Yu's choice to join the Night Temple, noting the guild's exorbitant taxes. Yan Yan feels a pang of regret, having invited Xiao Yu into her charity guild only to be refused. Now, Xiao Yu has already reached level 10 with the guild's assistance. Her father insists that the guild is merely exploiting her, while her mother argues that the 3-year contract amounts to slavery, asserting that the dignified path is to grow stronger gradually. Yang Yan's frustration grows, convinced that Xiao Yu has surpassed her, when an arrow suddenly strikes, killing her father instantly. A gang of thugs appears, seeking to steal lifespan, ignoring her prior warnings that their actions have made them fugitives. Yan Yan stands ready to defend herself and her mother, but before they can attack, the bullies are obliterated in an instant. The leader's head drops to the ground. Shadow has arrived. Confused and enraged, the defeated bullies return to the safe town, unable to comprehend how they fell so easily. They regroup outside, planning revenge on the girl and her mother, but as they charge forward, a curse suddenly freezes their bodies in place. A group of men emerges, reading their mandala, declaring the 3 guilty of murdering and robbing others, finally bringing them to justice. These men are official bounty hunters, stepping in to claim the fugitives. At the same time, Shadow uses the curse flower to drain the bullies' lifespans. Yan Yan feels an overwhelming gratitude, knowing that without Shadow, both she and her mother would already be dead. Shadow, however, observes that his sister's friend is wholly different from Xiao Yu. Yan Yan is kind, gentle, and genuinely good-natured. Without a word, he vanishes, leaving the mother and daughter astonished that the world's top player could act with such quiet benevolence. When Shadow reaches the coordinates, he notices the authorities waiting, but he evades them using stealth, slipping past unnoticed. The officials murmur among themselves, wondering if he is too timid to appear, but he ignores them, focusing on the ancient god tablet. He knows the tablet imparts both positive and negative effects to equipment, sometimes even altering classes. He recalls a rumor that the world's 7th-ranked player once used 7 tablets in a single battle to summon the shadow of an ancient god and slay a legendary boss. Tablet's bosses are infamous for unusual mechanics. Some vanish with extreme stealth, killing players too fast to react, while others endlessly revive because the true summoner remains hidden elsewhere. Once slain, these bosses always return berserk. Shadow arrives at the gathering of 7 bosses, circling as if in a council. He decides to experiment by attempting to kill them all at once. Equipping the Pendant of the Faithful, he summons a devout follower, which is promptly destroyed. All 7 monsters are level 10. Their stats nearly double that of standard gold-tier bosses, yet they lack counterattack damage. Shadow draws his Dark Knight Ringblade and executes Split Throat to kill them. though he feels disappointed when no loot appears. Suddenly, the seven merge into a single colossal boss, covered in glowing symbols written in the script of the ancient gods. Shadow carefully rearranges and translates the glyphs, deciphering the name Disaster Ancient God Uthos, realizing he must strike each body part in the order of the characters. His prior study of the scripts now proves invaluable. Once he attacks each section following the health bars, the boss is pulled into another realm, where massive stone tablets rise, each inscribed with the characters corresponding to the former monsters. Shadow realizes he must kill every enemy positioned near the block that bears its symbol. He also knows this is the final phase. The authorities keep waiting and talking, convinced Shadow is still nearby and that the boss has already gone berserk. When they finally check, they find the boss gone and only a massive crack left in the ground. That can only mean Shadow was there. They wonder if the quake killed the boss, but no one can say for sure. At that moment, Captain Ann sends word telling them they can leave because Shadow has already handled the boss. The men are stunned. They cannot believe they failed to notice Shadow slip past them, or that a full battle took place so close without anyone realizing it. Meanwhile, Shadow studies the loot and feels satisfied. Reaching level 14 already proves the fight was worth it. The 7 bosses, along with Greedy Hand, grant him 294 evolution points, but the most important reward follows. It is the Ancient God Tablet. He knows how it works and also knows the authorities won't figure it out for at least a month, by which time their losses will be set. The tablet is called the Cursed Tablet of the Calamity God and holds the cursed power of Utos. Its ability lets him attach a curse to any piece of equipment, giving 1 random buff and 1 random debuff determined by his profession and the item's traits. Shadow binds the curse to his Black Flame, gift-piercing leather armor. This raises the Black Flame's maximum stacks to 15 layers. It also pushes a boss's defense and elemental resistance into the negative. As expected from an Ancient God tablet, the buff far outweighs the debuff, and the armor becomes extremely potent. He then spends 210 evolution points to evolve Instant Shadow Slash into its legendary form, which surpasses his expectations. Each successful slash now grants a shield equal to his maximum health, stacking up to 9 times for 60 seconds. If all 9 slashes land, his effective health increases tenfold, expanding his margin of error far beyond normal limits. At his current pace, he knows he will soon hit level 15 and then head for the Magic City. When Shadow returns to the abandoned continent, he sees Xiao Yu still being beaten by the same bullies. They strike her until they grow tired and then finally stop. Instead of finishing her off, they spit on her swollen, bruised body before walking away. They believe this will be enough to teach her a lesson. Xiao Yu, however, remains unchanged. Nothing really gets through to her. She convinces herself everything is her brother's fault and remembers how she initially did not want to abandon him. She thinks he should have known she is just a little girl who always says the opposite of what she truly means. In her mind, the saving grace is that she signed a contract with the Night Temple. With that pact, she doesn't need to worry about survival for the next 3 years. Even if she must hand over half her lifespan, she believes she'll still have plenty left and will grow stronger, far faster than the women who bullied her. Xiao Yu persuades herself that once she has power, everyone who looked down on her will be dead, including her brother. She then tries to use her skull ability to heal herself, but she fails again, proving herself useless. Meanwhile, in the ruins of the Magic City, Chen Zaishi hides with her 2 foreign boy companions, and from the shadows of the broken buildings they watch a party of adventurers struggle against a single boss. Exishi considers the city's people weak for needing 18 fighters for 1 boss, and in her eyes that makes them pathetic. She feels no respect for her fellow citizens and only sees them as useless. They wait until the very last moment when the boss is nearly defeated and only 1 strike remains. At that instant, Exishi and her group burst from the ruins and steal the kill right in front of everyone. They take the loot and the victory without shame. Their group is already infamous, and people whisper about the mysterious woman with foreigners who rob others of their rewards. Exishi thinks of herself as the perfect woman, while men are nothing more than pigs that deserve to die. Her foreign companion unleashes a thunder smash and wipes out part of the party, and she follows up with her own power, cutting down the rest without hesitation. She believes these people can never compare to her, not with the connection she has and the confidence she carries. In her mind, she compares it to corporate banking, where only the clever survive and the weak are consumed. Even though their true identities haven't yet been exposed, Zishi decides it's too risky to remain in Daxia. For safety, they must leave early and head to North America. She already has a plan there. She intends to form a new guild dedicated to hunting the so-called pigs of Daxia. She even has the name picked out in her mind, Alice. With that thought, Chen Xixi throws herself onto the ground in melodramatic fashion and announces to her companions that it's time to log off and party, treating the bloodshed as nothing more than a game. After Shadow is finished, Captain Ann texts him that the negotiation for the sanctuary has been settled with the higher-ups. The set price is 500 years of lifespan. Shadow thinks the price is too low, so she counters at 2,000. He accepts, realizing she tried to lowball him at first and finding her quite cunning. When he arrives at the meeting place, he notices Anne is fully armed. She apologizes for her appearance, explaining that because she carries so much lifespan, the higher-ups didn't feel safe letting her make the delivery unprotected. Shadow thinks they clearly don't understand his power, since these guards are only a few skills away from losing their lives forever. The deal goes through, and after receiving the key, Shadow leaves the scene, while everyone else is left wondering what kind of sanctuary it could possibly be and why it carries such a high price. The timing turns out to be perfect for him, as the transaction happens just when he's preparing to head toward the Magic City. He consumes all of his lifespan to extract his level 15 Graceful Release, Mythical Skill, Assassin Intuition Legendary Skill, Dark Knight Ringblade Epic Skill, Silent Theft Invisibility Epic Skill, Darkest Hour Epic Skill, and even his mount. Every one of them transfers into the real world. Aside from his equipment, all his skills and levels are now fully synchronized. His real-world strength becomes nearly identical to what he has in the game. Soon after, a system notification warns him that his health and hunger have reached 90%, urging him to log out and take care of it. But when he wakes up, he finds himself locked in a cage with 2 thugs standing guard. They demand his lifespan, warning that he'll end up like everyone else in the hotel if he refuses. Shadow doesn't even blink. With his Dark Knight Ringblade, he cuts them down in an instant. Then, using a few more skills, he walks out of the building as if he had only crushed a pair of insects beneath his boots. The more power he uses in the real world, the more energy his body requires. And at this point, ordinary food just isn't enough. He knows that once he's done dealing with Ixixi and her Alice Guild, his next goal must be to obtain the Divine Bestowal Book. That task won't be easy, since Ixixi is extremely cunning and far harder to track than Songfei ever was. Still, because she's already placed a hit on him, he can use that as bait to draw her out. Even after devouring an entire tub of noodles, his hunger persists, so he decides to grab more food on the way to the Magic City. Meanwhile, inside the city, Ixixi is enjoying her time with her foreign boy toys, until a message from Shadow arrives. He tells her he has killed Qin Feng and that he'll meet her in person in the real-world Magic City to hand over the head and collect the rest of his payment. As expected, Zishi stays cautious. Believing it's too dangerous to meet in reality, she asks him to simply send the picture instead. The man replying on Shadow's behalf explains that he doesn't use a phone because he fears being tracked by the authorities. That makes Zishi assume that if Shadow is so careful, then he must be one of the authorities' enemies, an outcast. The thought intrigues her even more. She then sends him coordinates inside the game, saying she wants to meet him there. She adds that she'll prepare a performance to test him and find out which side he truly belongs to. Shadow logs into the game, fully aware this must be one of her traps, but he's curious to see what she has planned. Deep within the ruins of the Magic City, Shadow watches as Chen Cixi faces off against the authorities. From a rooftop, she negotiates with them while they demand her surrender or threaten to use force. Ixixi mocks them openly, calling them weak pigs. Then, to throw them off, she starts undressing right in front of everyone. The moment she does, the authorities avert their eyes in embarrassment, unable to look at her directly. But Shadow suddenly spots something that makes him pause. The man leading them is Chu Hoonan, known by the code name Skywalker. He's a well-known traitor, the one who secretly fed intel to Alice's guild, and in the original timeline he was only exposed and killed in Year 7 after the game's start. Shadow instantly realizes that he and Zishi staged this entire scene together, meant only to test where his allegiance lies. If Shadow sides with Zishi, it means turning against the authorities, but if he helps the authorities, Zishi will probably never agree to meet him in real life. Either way, it's a crossroads, and he knows he must choose immediately. Following his own path, Shadow releases his Dark Knight Ringblade and massacres the authorities in cold blood. When the battle ends, he steps forward calmly and introduces himself to Zishi like a boss. Zishi can't contain herself. She finds Shadow incredibly attractive, though the only downside is that he's from Doxia, which he really shouldn't have been. One of her boy toys greets Shadow, but Shadow kills him instantly. Offended, Zishi explains that they were only trying to be polite. Shadow replies that he simply wanted to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, so from now on they should only speak their native tongue here. He then asks to start the transaction, but tells her to put her clothes back on first. Ixixi asks where Qin Feng's head is. Shadow says he has it but couldn't bring it into the game. If she wants, he can show it to her in real life. Ixixi says she has already seen his strength and knows he isn't lying, then completes the transaction. To show he's indifferent, Shadow turns to leave, but Zishi stops him. She asks if he'd like to work with her again, saying she has a new assassination target, and if he's interested in coming to her place that night, she'll make sure to satisfy him completely. Her words carry a double meaning, and Shadow catches it right away. Ixixi logs out, saying she'll wait for him at her house by the port. Shadow instantly remembers that it could be a trap. Meanwhile, back in the safe town, Skywalker revives. To everyone else, he pretends to be furious with Shadow for betraying them, but in truth, he's pleased. Shadow teaming up with Zishi means he can benefit from the chaos. He keeps up the act, showing anger to another colleague, and she too believes that Shadow has become a serious threat to them. At the portyard, Shadow arrives in full robe attire and heads to the deck, where Ixixi waits for him in a striking red gown. She thinks he's just as mysterious in real life as he is in the game. Shadow asks directly who she wants dead. Zishi ignores the question and starts flirting instead, saying they should enjoy the beautiful night and the wine. Shadow downs the wine she offers without hesitation. And once it seems to clear his head, she confesses that she slips something special into the drink. Whoever drinks it will obey her every command. With that revealed, she grows eager and begins to pleasure him until the protagonist in the robe erupts with ecstasy. But for Zishi, there is no pleasure at all. Instead, she feels as if green fire is consuming her from within. At that exact moment, the real Shadow reaches up and removes the protective crystal pendant from her neck. She suddenly sees Qin Feng standing before her and asks if he is not dead. He answers that there is only one explanation. He is Shadow. She then asks who the man she was with actually is. And the awful truth is that she has just been with a million-year-old corpse. Zishi immediately drops to her knees before Shadow. She begs for mercy and promises to give him everything if he spares her. She offers to become his slave, though her ulterior motives remain hidden and her lecherous nature is unchanged. Shadow ends her charade in a single instant, and he gains 609 years of tradable lifespan. His only regret is that the foreigners who accompanied Zishi are absent, since he had hoped to eliminate them all at once. Afterwards, he uses Ixi's phone to call the authorities because she was a public figure. A large police force soon arrives and surrounds the yacht. Among them is Zishi's other companion, Skywalker from the game, and when they find Ishi's corpse they realize something is wrong, and Honan becomes certain Shadow is responsible. Skywalker then activates his special technique, Final Words of the Deceased. By touching the body he can reveal the killer's location for 5 minutes, and he vows to bring her murderer to justice. He immediately senses Shadow's presence, and everyone opens fire toward that direction. Skywalker is wiped out just as quickly. Soon, the entire police force rains bullets down on Shadow. The team leader urges everyone to stay calm and calls for Shadow to show himself. Shadow answers, telling them not to panic either, and explains that he killed Skywalker because Skywalker had been feeding intel to Zishi for personal gain and was a traitor. He adds that the evidence should be on Skywalker's phone so they can investigate at their leisure. When they check the phone, they find the correspondence that proves Ixishi orchestrated many events both inside the game and in the real world. They realize Shadow told the truth. The in-game battle where he slaughtered them all had only been an act to win Jishi's trust, trace her in reality, and finish her. He even called the authorities on himself and eliminated Skywalker, solving 2 major crimes with one move. The officers conclude this man is extraordinary. One of them, who remembers firing a few shots at him earlier, worries he may harbor a grudge. To show gratitude, she shoots herself in the leg and declares her debt paid, urging Shadow to continue cooperating with the authorities. Shadow watches it all and takes note of her sacrifice. Her in-game name is Late Night Rain, and he thinks it's no wonder she will become the top leader of Magic City's official force in the future. Meanwhile, back in the game, Xiao Yu has joined a different guild and is fighting monsters. When her guild leader asks for healing, she misses and instead heals the boss. After being revived, she immediately blames Shadow again, insisting she's the victim and claiming he's always targeting her. But the master she serves strikes her down and reminds her that it was the platinum tier boss Atlas assassin Charlotte who wiped them out, and that she was the one who healed the boss. He says he regrets bringing her along and vows that if the guild leader ever assigns her to his party again, he will kill himself. At that moment they realize the boss has followed them. Juyu has no chance to escape before she is wiped out once more. In a multi-million-dollar mansion, a woman is furious because the authorities had a perfect opportunity to eliminate Shadow yet let him go. She calls her contact inside the force, demanding to know why Shadow was treated with respect when he wiped out her entire Dongfeng clan and her blood should have been avenged. She is part of that same Dongfeng family Shadow slaughtered earlier and is determined to exact revenge. While she speaks to the man, her son, eyes vacant, interrupts and says he has a plan to kill Shadow. She tells him there's nothing he can do. Only adults over 18 can enter the game, and he doesn't even have access. He calmly replies that he doesn't need to be there in person, he just needs to think. Since Shadow loves killing, they'll bait him with victims inside a fireworks factory and set everything up beforehand. When Shadow comes to strike, they'll blow up the factory, and the whole world will witness the fall of the #1 player. His mother smiles, thinking she's raised a brilliant son. But in truth, he's a little monster who kills without reason. Back in the Magic City ruins, Xiao Yu and her clan are wiped out again. The spectators can't understand how it happened. They see no enemy and assume it must be Shadow. When even more players die in another sudden strike, everyone blames him, believing he's gone rogue and started killing random players using his unmatched stealth. Meanwhile, Shadow knows nothing about any of this. He goes to a beach he believes to be safe. He deploys his safe house and watches it materialize out in the sea. Once inside, he receives a message from Wang Meng saying people are accusing him of player kills. But Shadow knows he hasn't even been online. He investigates and discovers the real culprit is a platinum tier boss named Headless Assassin Charlotte, whose stealth is so advanced that no one can detect her. Wang Meng pleads for Shadow's help. Over in the city, Captain Safety is still furious that Shadow stole his spotlight. He claims he can defeat the boss himself. but his teammate tells him to chill out and stay hidden. At that exact moment, he slips on a banana peel. Seconds later, his whole party gets wiped out. Somehow he survives and tries rolling and dodging Charlotte's attacks, but she eventually annihilates him too. Just then, Shadow arrives, and with one stealth-breaking strike, he kills her instantly. A few minutes before his arrival, everyone had been blaming Xiao Yu for triggering the headless boss, who then locked onto her and followed her straight to the respawn point. She cried that it wasn't her fault, but her incompetence had drained every fighter's energy, and they were tired of dying because of her. The guildmaster appeared and told her she wasn't fit for combat. From now on, her only job was to find safe house locations. If she located a gold tier 1, she'd earn 3 years of lifespan, platinum tier 10. He admitted to himself that hiring her was a mistake, but to keep her alive, he decided to give her 1 lifespan per day. Otherwise, she'd keep dying and wasting everyone's lives. Xiao Yu still didn't get it, and the other women in her clan grew jealous, convinced she was just trying to get close to the guildmaster. Then the guildmaster saw Charlotte fall, and saw Shadow standing on her body. Shadow's silhouette glowed faintly over the corpse. Suddenly, Xiao Yu, who was standing far behind her clan members, began floating into the air. No one knew what was happening until 4 titanium bosses appeared in the sky and surrounded her. Xiao Yu believed Shadow would save her and cried out for him. With a flash slash, Shadow completely finished off the headless assassin Charlotte, but he showed no concern for Xiao Yu's life. He only gave a quiet apology before, using greedy hands to claim 1,020 tradable days and several skill orbs. Captain An suddenly appeared again, asking if he had more to sell. Shadow was getting tired of their constant appearances, but it was good timing. He knew another spot loaded with valuable loot. He agreed to take them there if the price was right, but said only men could come and that Anne should stay behind. When Anne suggested he was worried about her safety, he knocked her on the head and told her that wasn't the reason. Outside the northern city gate ruins stood the Tower of Divine Authority. After a challenge, it could drop amazing loot, but the NPC inside despised women, and having any in the party drastically increased the difficulty. Anne stormed off, and Shadow sent private invites to Wang Meng and his other male members. They were nervous. It was the first time Shadow had ever teamed up with anyone, and as he moved ahead, they had to sprint just to keep up with his insane speed. While scouting, Shadow examined Bone White Blade Emerald, an assassin weapon that doubled his movement speed for 5 seconds after every hit and boosted his evasion by 30%. He also obtained Shadow Blade, a platinum tier weapon that unleashed a dark energy strike within 20 meters, dealing single target dark damage. He immediately evolved it to legendary level because of its power. When he looked back, he realized his new teammates were nowhere near him. They were nearly 2 kilometers behind. Exhausted and barely able to keep up, the group finally slowed their pace. Shadow and his new apprentices at last arrived before the Grand Gold Tower. He explained that once they entered, an NPC would appear to assign them a challenge. This NPC, however, was known to be sly. The better a player performed, the higher the prices of his goods would rise. So for now, Shadow decided to limit himself to only 1% of his real power, while the boys were told to give everything they had and focus on defeating at least one golden boss. When he turned around, he saw Meng and his partner already collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. Even so, Meng swore they would finish the mission no matter what. Shadow saw the fire in their eyes and decided that was enough enthusiasm for now. He told them that once they cleared the challenge, the rewards would be worth it. He also reminded them to stick to team chat so the NPC couldn't overhear their talk, completely missing the fact that the boys were simply begging for a few seconds to breathe. Inside the tower, just as Shadow had said, an NPC floated in the air, surrounded by a faint blue star-shaped aura. The figure welcomed them to the Tower of Divine Authority and declared that if they could pass his challenge, they would earn the right to trade with him. Meng nervously asked if this meant they would have to fight. Shadow reassured them that all they had to do was follow his instructions. When the time came, he promised the battle would be simple. Still, the boys couldn't calm down and kept throwing question after question until their words started to overlap. Shadow stared at them in disbelief, wondering how these two ever managed to win any of their past fights when they were this anxious now. Meng quickly tried to excuse his behavior, saying a past incident had made him overly cautious. Just then, the NPC raised his hand and summoned an obsidian skull-splitting golem level 20, gold grade. The ground trembled violently as the massive creature took form. Wang Ming and his friend froze in shock. The strongest opponent they had ever faced before was only level 11, and now a level 20 boss stood before them. Meng clenched his teeth, lifted his shield, and charged with a shield bash. The golem roared and counterattacked with crushing strength. Shadow instantly stepped in, shouting commands to take control of the fight. He ordered the archer to fire a starfall shot and the swordsman to execute a triple landing slash. The boys followed his orders without hesitation. Their combined assault managed to chip away a small portion of the golem's HP bar. Seeing the boss was within reach, Shadow decided to enter the battle himself. He warned them to avoid the black oil dripping from the creature's body, as it could melt through armor in seconds. They barely dodged the burning liquid, struggling to hold their ground. Shadow then unleashed his Shadow Blade, delivering a heavy strike that carved deep into the golem's body. The blow enraged the monster, pushing the battle into its next phase. The boys whispered in awe, wondering how Shadow even knew that the harder players fought, the more expensive the NPC's prices became. With a sly grin, Shadow replied that this game was full of secrets buried deep in forgotten ruins. The real question, he said, was whether anyone had explored far enough to uncover them. The boys fell silent, unable to respond. The fight continued, and Shadow gave Meng direct orders. He told him to activate his invincibility skill and block the incoming flames. Once the fire stopped, he was to unleash his ultimate attack, Full Burst, and strike the golem with everything he had, exactly as Shadow had planned. Their teamwork paid off, and they successfully defeated the level 20 skull-splitting golem. Shadow then explained the real trick. Once the golem's HP dropped below 70%, it automatically entered an enraged state. If that effect was dispelled, its strength would drop to the level of a mere silver boss. The NPC descended from the sky and spoke to them. He said that as long as they paid fairly using their own lifespans, he would trade with them for the divine book. One of the players pointed out that the NPC had 6 fingers. In the next instant, the NPC attacked them without warning. Normally, NPCs never strike players unless their taboos are mentioned, and this NPC's taboo happened to be his 6 fingers. Even Shadow couldn't overpower him now. In truth, these NPCs were divine beings from another timeline who traded players' lifespans for sacred items. The one called Wiccaline frantically urged them to offer their years in exchange for gifts. Meng's team grew excited after learning that lifespans could be exchanged for real-life survival materials. With those gift books, they wouldn't have to worry about supplies anytime soon. Shadow eventually secured 9 volumes of Zhanhai City's divine books, sacrificing 9,000 days of his lifespan, just enough to cover his everyday needs. Now, his next destination was the Achievement Tower, where he aimed to earn divine authority and reputation. He then requested the NPC to send him solo into the hardest difficulty challenge. The NPC doubted that he could even survive the first stage, much less the final one. There were 5 tiers in total, with the 5th being the ultimate level, where he would face a gold-grade obsidian skull-splitting golem boasting 500% stats. The boys warned Shadow that even a single mistake could mean instant death against such a monster. Wickley reminds him that if he loses, all the lifespan he's wagered will be taken from him, but our boy accepts the condition without hesitation. In the next instant, the NPC activates the challenge. A boss monster appears before him, empowered by a terrifying 500% buff. Yet our boy doesn't even flinch. He's faced 2,000% buffs in his past life. He hurls his venom dagger at the boss, triggering the Black Flames effect. But the monster has a 7% elemental resistance. Shadow then boosts his speed by 100% for 5 seconds using Boneblade's special ability. With that boost, he dashes straight toward the boss, stabs it once, and vanishes from sight. In the next heartbeat, he reappears, and executes his skill, Graceful Execution, slashing across the boss's throat. Even with that powerful blow, it's still not enough to bring it down. The boss has an astonishing 64% offensive resistance. Shadow quickly calculates that without his Ancient God tablet buff enhancing his Black Flames gift, his instant Shadow Slash can only deal around 18,000 damage per strike. The boys watching are stunned. Shadow's rapid slashes have already cut the boss's HP bar in half. Even the NPC seems taken aback, witnessing the raw strength of a blue star godforsaken player. Shadow then makes a calculated choice. He sacrifices 20% of his DPS and activates Throat Slash. The move amplifies his total damage output, pushing the boss closer to defeat. With that final strike, he clears the 5th tier challenge. And with it, he earns full reputation from all 5 tiers, completing the highest difficulty stage. He also achieves the global first clear of the Tower of Divine Authority's solo challenge. Outside, the other players stare in disbelief at the glowing tower, realizing Shadow has once again outclassed them all. The NPC, furious and humiliated, calls him a cheater and curses himself for not demanding more lifespan as payment. A flash of light bursts around Shadow, and he's transported out of the tower. Meng and his teammates breathe in relief, thankful they're unharmed. Shadow reassures them that the NPC can't hurt them now. He tells them to head off for dinner, and they ask him to call them again the next time an opportunity like this appears. Back in reality, Shadow now has 106 years of lifespan remaining. He uses part of it to buy important supplies, and even a robot maid, which he promptly orders to clean his house. Meanwhile, over in Shanghai City, the police discover a mutated female corpse. They suspect it's the same killer responsible for 2 previous murders. The murderer is sharp enough to dispose of the bodies exactly outside the ability's effective time frame. The police decide to assign an investigator to the case. Some officers start suspecting Shadow, since the recorded time of death matches his login and logout history, but their superior insists that even if the rumors point toward Shadow, the evidence isn't solid enough to accuse him. He believes Officer Xiao Ma is only targeting Shadow out of personal embarrassment and insists they keep investigating to find real proof. That leaves Xiao Ma sulking in frustration. Meanwhile, at the god-forsaken magic capital ruins, Shadow stands before Ghost Academy, a platinum-grade hideout protected by the strongest barrier in all of Huaxia. He decides to capture it and registers the place under his guild's name, turning it into an official sanctuary within Magic City. Now, he can teleport freely between Zonghai City and Magic City using the sanctuaries he owns in both locations. After entering the hideout, he still doesn't find a single living soul even down in the third basement level. Suddenly, he hears voices echoing through the corridor. A gang from the Sura Hall. They're harassing a girl, forcing her to reveal her real-world location. One of the men offers her a deal. If she returns the 30 years of lifespan she stole from Madame Dongfang and lets them take her away, they'll spare her life. Pretending to comply, the girl plays innocent, saying she'll do it if they let her go. But in the next moment, she hurls a venom dagger at them. The goons counter with a golden cauldron slam, easily overpowering her and forcing her to submit. She smirks faintly and says goodbye, just as the man in front of her is sliced clean in half by a bladed chain. Then she turns to face the others. Watching from the shadows, our boy recognizes that ability instantly. Standing tall with the blade of the underworld in hand, she burns with hatred, vowing to take revenge on Dongfang. Looking closer, he sees her hidden class, Blade of the Underworld, and her name, Ghost Shade. Shadow realizes she's an assassin, one of the top 10 killers from his past life. Back then, her identity was exposed after she defied the Chu family. With no allies left, she was killed, but not before taking down thousands with her. Now, standing before her again, Shadow decides to help her by taking out Yue Dongfang, who must belong to the Dongfang clan. As soon as she notices him, she lashes out with her Chain of the Netherworld. Thinking he's an enemy, she doesn't hesitate to attack while he tries to explain. When she refuses to listen, he decides to play along. He disappears, then reappears behind her, catching her off guard. She steps back, and he counters, with a shadow dive, copying her stealth move. She vanishes completely from his sight. In response, he fades out as well, shocking her, since her level 4 anti-stealth detection should have revealed his position. Realizing that, she starts to suspect that this person might really be Shadow. When he appears behind her again, she curses under her breath, amazed that he can still detect her even while she's using level 4 stealth. She retaliates with Spectre Pursuit, sending her spectral chains to lock on to his location. He remarks that he can't dodge her skill forever, while sidestepping the incoming chain strikes. He's impressed by her technique, though he admits it's not quite perfect yet. As he finally closes in, she uses a feint, letting the chains wrap around her own body. He tells her to listen closely. If he'd truly been sent to assassinate her, she'd already be dead. Then he calmly asks whether Yue Dongfang is from Shanghai City. She replies that Yue married into the Chu family. Hearing that, he realizes why he never found Yue when he eliminated the rest of the Dongfang clan. That revelation shocks her. She offers him an alliance, saying he should be her friend since they share a common enemy. But he throws her down, telling her they can talk about alliances later. Right now, he wants to know why she wants Yue dead. She explains that Yue killed her mother in a drunk driving accident, then escaped punishment thanks to the Chu family's influence. Her father had gathered solid evidence against Yue, but they killed him too, disguising it as a suicide. When she went to confront them herself, their men beat her half to death. That was when she discovered the God-forsaken game. Her first goal inside the game was to kill Yue, but she realized doing so would consume all of her lifespan. Yue then hired assassins to kill her in return. Desperate, she begs Shadow to help her, but he refuses. She pleads again, saying he can name any price, she'll serve him completely, even as a slave, if that's what it takes to achieve revenge. Yet he refuses once more, telling her that vengeance must be taken by her own hands. However, he promises to assist her, and how much she gains will depend entirely on her own strength. She then asks him how she can earn his guidance. He offers her a spot in his guild. Ghost Shade accepts right away, joining without hesitation. Her next goal is to advance her class, but this is something she has to handle on her own, since he can only help her again once she completes her advancement and manages to find him later. With that, he turns and leaves. Heading deep into the heart of the Spectre Academy, he decides to keep the girl close for now, believing she holds great potential to grow even stronger. There, he encounters a mutated witch named Stana, a level 15 platinum-grade monster and the Academy's guardian. Wasting no time, he launches his Dark Knight ring blade at her. Observing her in the first phase, he quickly realizes that only one of the monster's 4 heads has activated, which makes her immune to all physical damage. This leaves him with no choice but to rely on weak elemental magic. He follows up by attacking with Shadow Blade, and enhances his speed with Pale Bone Blade. He manages to destroy one of her heads, triggering the boss's second phase. All 3 remaining heads come alive at once. She starts firing off random yet relentless attacks toward our boy, but he dodges every single one. Then, he finally lands a critical strike. The next moment, he slays her completely, earning 50,000 experience points. With that, he also obtains the key of Ghost Academy. His class advances to Tier 2, boosting all his stats. Additionally, he gains a new ability that makes his stealth skill completely immune to attacks. With that, the Tier 2 transformation is complete. Meanwhile, Ghost Shade is in the outer section of the academy. That's when the thugs from Osora Hall return, this time with reinforcements. They're ready to take her down. But she strikes first, using Shadow Dive to ambush them. However, they respond by throwing a flare grenade. The blast knocks her backward. They move in, ready to teach her a lesson, but then they notice the poison in her hand, moments away from being used. Their boss smirks, impressed by her cunning, realizing that she intends to kill herself and resurrect later. Just as they're about to grab her, a sudden notification appears announcing that Ghost Academy has officially become a sanctuary of the Shadow Guild and that all outsiders will now be expelled. A moment later, the cleansing is complete. Everyone vanishes before her eyes. She's stunned to realize that in just minutes, Shadow has defeated the boss and turned this entire place into their sanctuary. After the battle, he acquires 2 rare items. One is the Witch's Ring, which boosts all attributes by 30%, and the other is a Venom Trap, a level 5 stealth device that poisons anyone caught in it. He also earns evolution points, which he spends to evolve his backstab skill to legendary grade. This massively increases both his attack power and his survival rate. Soon after, he receives a message from Xiaohei. She reports that a newly discovered ruin has been found in Zhanghai City, marked with the same carvings they saw back in the newbie village. After they clear it, a teleportation circle appears, but nothing happens when they touch it, suggesting it's meant for the Fated One. She suspects he might be that person. He agrees to come, planning to sell his gear to her. But right before he teleports, she advises him instead to sell the equipment to the Modu authorities, since Shanghai has no lifespan to trade. Later, at the outskirts of Zhanghai City, he is already there when she suddenly gets ambushed by our boy, demanding the location of the ruin. She points down toward the cliff below. He asks how she managed to find it. She explains that she fell off the cliff by accident, got caught in a tree, and from there she spotted the entrance, then called Meng's team to help explore. Entering the ruin together, she warns him about the maze ahead, explaining that she's already cleared out the mobs inside. He warns her to be cautious with her non-tradable lifespan. She nods, saying she already understands how the strange system works. There's a certain skill that can drain her remaining lifespan if it runs too low. To his surprise, she adds that they've actually discovered a way to replenish it. She explains that they managed to trap and kill monsters that possess non-tradable lifespan, and then stored those drops to use later as replenishment. He's impressed and asks if Anu was the one who figured out this method. She confirms it without hesitation. He just quietly nods, because in his previous life she was the one who discovered this technique. Then they spot several teleportation orbs nearby. She reaches out and touches one, but nothing happens. It doesn't react to anyone except the Fated One. She urges him to give it a try, guessing that it might be linked to the same village they encountered before. When he finally touches it, he's instantly teleported to the caverns of Icetide. Here, all remote communication is blocked. Inside, a mission appears. He must protect the Icetide crystal. Without hesitation, he activates Shadow Dive to turn invisible. He recalls that the crystal will unleash a massive freezing blast whenever it takes damage. Soon after, monsters start flooding out from the tunnels, all trying to destroy the crystal. Any damage dealt to it would instantly kill him. The real danger is that if it shatters, he won't be revived there and he'll lose all the rewards as well. So he sets venomous traps at 3 key points, then uses the Witch's Ring to expand his skill range by another 25%. When the monsters charge in waves, many are instantly killed by the traps. He stays cloaked in stealth, and while stacking damage points, he swiftly executes the remaining enemies with deadly backstabs. But his relentless assault is suddenly interrupted when a weapon is hurled his way. It misses, but just barely. Looking up, he spots a zombie-like creature among the horde, surprised to find there's a ranged mob in the mix. Meanwhile, outside the demon capital ruins, the Asura Hall guild members stand before their client, Dongfeng Yue. She's livid with the guild leader for refusing to assassinate Ghostshade after she joined the Shadow Guild. When they tell her to find someone else, she snaps and threatens to kill them in real life as well. That earns her a merciless beating from the leader, who repeatedly punches her while snarling that Shadow may be beyond his reach. But she isn't. Finally, he kills her. In the real world, she wakes up furious and immediately calls her husband to deal with the guild. She also informs him that Ghostshade is now part of the Shadow Guild. He calmly assures her that he'll handle both her enemies, revealing that he's already hired the Black Dragon Guild Hall in the Demon Capital to take care of Shadow. Hanging up, she seethes with determination, vowing to destroy both Asura Hall and Shadow himself. Meanwhile, Shadow swiftly finishes off the remaining monster. He isn't fazed at all by the existence of ranged mobs. His Shadow Blade easily cuts through their vital points with a single slash. After defeating the Guardian, his mission concludes, and his reward appears, an epic-grade treasure chest. Remembering how he received graceful release from the last one, he can't help but feel eager to see what this one holds. Once again, the NPC rises from within the chest. She speaks in an ancient language, one that our guy doesn't recognize, but thanks to the eyes of judgment he can still understand her meaning. After rambling about him being the chosen one and vowing to witness his rise from now on, she finally grants him his reward. It's Asahi's summoning bell. This special item lets him summon her whenever he wants. Once he clears all 3 of her challenges, she'll permanently reside in his hideout and provide a skill upgrade function. From her words, he realizes the first challenge corresponded to level 5, and this one to level 15. He quietly thanks Dalize's ridiculous luck for this opportunity. Afterward, he gets to choose one of his skills to upgrade to match his current level. He knows that normally, he can't directly enhance a skill's quality, but through infinite evolution he can force it, though it comes with a price. He weighs his options carefully. At first, he considers evolving Shadow Dive into a mythical skill, but after thinking it over, he chooses to upgrade Graceful Release instead, pushing it to the highest level since the rest of his skills can still be evolved later by spending his lifespan. The upgrade boosts Graceful Release to level 16, and it is at that exact moment a teleportation gate appears before him, offering an exit from the ruins. Just as he's about to leave, he spots another item tucked inside the chest, an equivalent exchange pack. This rare item allows him to trade any skill book or piece of equipment for another of the same tier. Satisfied with his incredible haul, he can't help but silently thank Dalice again for such unbelievable luck. With everything secured, he heads back to Xiaohe, and right away he notices something off. Xiaohe hasn't moved on to the next level. She's still waiting for him in the grind zone. When he approaches, she smiles brightly and admits she stayed behind just in case something attacked him while leaving the area. He thanks her by handing over a skill book he got from the last battle. The moment she realizes it's a level 13 platinum-grade magic shell, her eyes go wide. It's a rare treasure that could massively boost her survival rate. She waves at him happily, calling out a cheerful goodbye. He logs out afterward to grab some food. Meanwhile, deep within the ruins of Huanghai City that night, the Night Sanctuary Guild gathers inside their very first real hideout. When Huming addresses the members proudly, he reminds them that this small base means safety, rest, and a real foothold in the city. He points toward the one who made it all possible, Xiao Yu. Caught off guard, Xiao Yu steps forward as the crowd erupts into cheers, a little overwhelmed by all the attention. She first thanks her leader, then her friends, and even those who mocked her, saying their criticism gave her the push she needed to grow stronger. Then she mentions her late parents, wishing they could see her now and be proud tears roll down her face. The guildmaster asks how she discovered the place and what difficulties she faced along the way. She tells everyone she was guided there by a dream, a vision of a warrior leading her to the site. The crowd bursts out laughing, treating it as nothing but a joke. When someone asks about her dream from the night before, she describes a massive platinum-grade hideout. Again, laughter fills the room. Still, the guildmaster rewards her with 1 year of tradable lifespan and encourages her to keep searching. Later, Xiao Yu ventures deeper into the ruins, chasing the same strange pull she'd felt in her dreams. 3 hidden guild members follow her from a distance, suspecting she's found another hideout. Inside a half-collapsed building, the air suddenly grows thick and unnerving. A monstrous face bursts out of the shadows, 2 tentacles lashing forward from its mouth. Terror grips her. She screams and collapses unconscious. The watchers freeze as the creature's tentacles wrap around her, one forcing its way into her mouth. Her lifespan begins draining instantly. Horrified, they realize what kind of creature it is and flee for their lives. Xiao Yu regains consciousness just in time to see the monster devour the fleeing group whole. Panic overtakes her, driving her to run, but in her terror, she trips and tumbles down a flight of stairs. She crashes at the bottom, then stops cold. Right in front of her lies an entrance identical to the one from her dreams. The Platinum Hideout is real. She quickly messages the guildmaster. He orders her to stay put, pulls her into his party, and begins tracking her position. Relief washes over her until she hears it again. The monster has returned, looming behind her. She turns around, trembling, trying to summon her courage even as her knees shake. Her grip tightens on her weapon. She forces herself to believe she's not weak anymore. That timid version of herself is gone. As a noble hidden class life-sacrifice priest, her confidence ignites. She lashes out, releasing venomous vines that whip across the creature. The hit lands clean, and excitement surges through her. She presses the attack poison mist bursts out from her body. A cloud of toxic fumes spreads fast. She expects it to shred the monster apart, but realization strikes too late. The space around her is sealed. The fumes roll back, filling the chamber and trapping her inside. She holds her breath, lungs burning, panic clawing at her. Desperation drives her to cast detoxification. Relief flashes for a second, then horror takes over. The spell's effect washes over the monster instead, cleansing it completely and leaving her exposed. The poison she released now eats away at her own body. Her own skill becomes the cause of her death. Moments later, she's revived and returns to the guild. The guildmaster wastes no time, demanding to know why she's back so soon. She explains the ambush inside the ruins, and his face hardens when he realizes she survived a soul-sucking monster that drains all lifespan. She grins and answers proudly. When faced with certain death, she killed herself first. The guildmaster laughs and praises her sharp thinking, calling it genius. She accepts the compliment with a cocky smile and hurries to rejoin him. On the way, her thoughts turn smug. The 3 members who tailed her died instead. Serves them right. A week later, she leads the guildmaster straight to the hidden entrance of the Platinum Grade hideout. He nods in approval, promising a reward once it's secured. Orders come fast. Dato spreads the team around the perimeter, ready to strike down anyone who interferes, even Shadow Guild members. The guildmaster gives the signal, and the entire group charges the entrance. But the gate doesn't budge, no matter how hard they push. Dato keeps striking over and over until it clicks. The gate itself is alive, it's the Guardian. He swings again with full force. Damage numbers appear above the stone. The Guildmaster grins, declaring the hideout theirs for the taking. Instantly, the entire force opens fire, explosions pounding the gate non-stop. Far away, Shadow receives a system alert. His hideout, Soul Cleansing Grounds, is under attack. Durability at 99.3%. Teleportation is locked. Someone's found the entrance. At their current pace, it would take them a year to break through. He mounts his wolf and races toward the ruins. Near the perimeter, he spots another scene unfolding. Two players are chasing a girl, shouting threats as they close in. One slashes her down. The other binds her with holy restraint. They sneer, accusing her of trespassing into Night Sanctuary territory. She protests, insisting it's not true. Shadow stops in his tracks. He recognizes her. It's Yang Xiaoya, his former co-worker, the kind woman who once brought him lunch. His gaze sharpens as he spots the guild insignia on their arms. Night Sanctuary, the very same guild attacking his hideout. The two players bicker over who gets to finish her off. They never get the chance. Darkness flashes behind them. Two heads drop before their bodies even hit the ground. Yang Xiaoya looks up. Stunned, her eyes widen in disbelief. Those eyes are familiar. She knows them. They belong to Qinfeng. Shadow snaps his fingers, activating the curse of blooming flowers around her. She tries to ask if he really is Qinfeng, but she vanishes before finishing the question. The others wonder why his eyes look so much like Qinfeng's, but dismiss the idea. If Shadow were truly him, he would have never let Xiaoyu join Night Sanctuary as a slave. Outside the Soul Cleansing Grounds hideout, the Guildmaster greets Shadow with forced politeness. He apologizes for his men robbing travelers, calling it a crime deserving death. He thanks Shadow for punishing them and reminds everyone that Shadow once saved them from the Headless Assassin. Since then, they've claimed to follow his example, proudly calling themselves the most righteous guild in the game. Finally, he asks what brings Shadow here. Shadow says he heard they were attacking a hideout. The Guildmaster admits it, but freezes when Shadow flatly states that the hideout belongs to him. Panic sweeps through the guild ranks. The Guildmaster insists Shadow's hideout is in Magic City. Shadow explains that players can own one hideout per city name, and he happens to own both in Magic City and Shanghai. The guild realizes, too late, that they've invaded his property. Xiaoyu bursts into tears, unable to understand why her dreams never warned her. The guildmaster apologizes quickly, asking how they can make things right. Shadow demands 500 years of lifespan to repair the gate. The guildmaster nearly collapses in shock. One member begs Shadow to lower his demand, but Shadow refuses, warning them to stay silent if they don't understand the true cost. The furious guildmaster grabs Xiaoyu by the collar, shouting that it's her fault for dragging them into this disaster. She admits her mistake and pleads with Shadow to punish her instead. She even offers her lifelong service in all the years she has left, but Shadow shocks the entire guild when he calls their master by name. Then he calmly asks if the man truly believes she's worth 500 years. The guildmaster bursts with killing intent, unable to hold back his rage. He violently throws Xiaoyu aside, accusing her of pretending to sacrifice herself just to earn Shadow's favor. She crashes to the ground, realizing her plan has failed once again. The guildmaster hurriedly pleads that they simply cannot afford 500 years. Shadow lowers the demand, 100 years of lifespan, and the rest must be paid in slaughterer heads, 1 per year. Killing them will clear their status, which also benefits Shadow's guild. The master agrees and transfers the 100 years. Then he orders all slaughterers to assemble at once. Shadow receives a system prompt. He accepts, losing 7 days of lifespan as the hideout fully restores itself. 400 slaughterers from Shadow Kill remain under him. His level drops from 4 to 3. The guild leader tries to flatter him, saying those members broke the rules and deserved what they got. Shadow then commands the guild to guard the hideout and use it as a place to discipline anyone who breaks the code. They must take turns keeping watch, and the guild leader will be held responsible for any future attacks. The leader agrees, though he realizes Shadow's true intention is to trap them here. Suddenly, a system alert appears. Wraith Academy is under attack. Barrier durability at 99.8%. Ward teleport available. Shackles confirmed. Shadow accepts without hesitation, certain everyone knows the academy belongs to him, and curious about who dares attack it, he vanishes instantly. The guild leader orders everyone to return to their positions. One member objects, but he shuts them down, saying they have no choice but to obey. He assigns Xiaoyu to guard duty, mocking her for ever dreaming of being stationed here. He warns her not to leave her post, or her lifespan will be drained away. Meanwhile, over at Magic City Rotha Cow, the attackers are pounding the academy gates. Durability drops to 51.7%. 2 guild members watch. One doubts anyone would dare provoke Shadow, while the other recognizes the crest of the Black Dragon Palace, possibly foreign players. Shadow observes from above, puzzled since he's never had any conflict with them before. The attackers then unleash their Black, Flame, and Demonic Dragon break in one devastating combo. Durability falls to 13%. They cheer, thinking 100 years of lifespan will be easy money. Idiots. Shadow concludes they were hired mercenaries, and the only one capable of arranging that is Dongfang Ye. The next moment, a massive dragon materializes behind them, catching everyone off guard and sending them running for their lives. A meteor forms high above, bursting into a massive blaze of fire. Their leader raises his arms to shield himself, taking only 3,000 damage. Shocked but cocky, he laughs, calling the power weak. That arrogance ends instantly when an energy slash beheads him in one clean strike. Panic erupts as their leader's body drops lifelessly to the ground. A girl among them suspects Shadow must be there, and others whisper that he might actually have permanent invisibility. Shadow suddenly appears before her, recognizing the girl as Zhang Jingxuan, known in-game as 10 Miles of Green Mountains. She turns out to be the only hidden class soul painter. The dragon and meteor earlier, both were her creations. Unlike mages, soul painters draw their spells. They're great at defense and teamwork, but terrible when alone. She calls out into the air, asking if Shadow is truly there. She says she wants to enter the hideout to advance her class, and she's willing to pay. Shadow remembers her and her grandfather, Old Zhang, who were both famous streamers before the game became reality. After the descent, Old Zhang built the Sky Dome Guild at Wraith Academy, raising it into one of Doxia's top 10 guilds. Shadow once admired them both. Then, the massive hideout gates creak open, and he orders her to come inside so they can talk. She steps into Wraith Academy and sees Shadow seated on his throne. He gestures for her to speak. She explains that as a soul painter, she needs rare materials to advance, and those materials can only be found here. She also recalls hearing rumors that he once sold the hideout to the Zhenghai government for 2,000 years of lifespan. Since her advancement requires a large amount, she proposes buying the entire academy from him. Gato quickly figures out how the Sky Dome Guild managed to gather so much wealth. Old Zhang is clearly backing them from behind the scenes. Still, he refuses to sell. Instead, he offers her free access to the first floor whenever she wishes to enter. She doesn't stop there. She pushes the deal further, proposing a rental, 500 years of lifespan for a 3-year lease. The access alone should have been enough for her advancement, yet she keeps insisting on paying rent. That's when Shadow realizes her true motive. She wants to build a formal connection with him. To show sincerity, she adds another condition to the offer. She'll help him annihilate the Black Dragon Palace, the guild that just attacked his gates. Shadow raises an eyebrow and asks if she needs Old Zhang's approval for such a move. She answers confidently that her grandfather always listens to her. Besides, Black Dragon Palace is a minor guild they can easily wipe out. Shadow can't help but admire her courage and agrees to the proposal. The rental contract finalizes, earning him 500 years of lifespan in return. He grants her full access to the first floor and reminds her not to worry about barrier damage since the magma underneath automatically repairs everything. She accepts the terms and departs. Alone, Shadow notes that she seems even livelier than she ever did in her live streams. Pushing the thought aside, he heads to his warehouse. The cooldown for equivalent exchange has just ended, so he activates Barfitch's ability once more. One item fades from existence while another takes its place. His intelligence training vanishes, replaced by Crimson Fang, an emerald-grade assassin limit break skill. The new dagger skill instantly grabs his attention. Limit break abilities charge over time and can completely turn the tide of battle. Crimson Fang alone grants 4,800 blood elemental damage, and with buffs, it could easily surpass 100,000. He still has 5 evolution points left, so he spends 500 to evolve it into a mythic grade skill. The evolved effect reduces lifespan drain while invisible by 90%, freeing him from the pressure whenever he activates Rage Domain. He checks his current status. Level 17, equipped with Sharp Will, Fragile White Gloves, Invisible Boots, and Damp Ring. Only his leg piece remains unupgraded, but everything else is emerald grade. Admitting the low-level gear looks ugly, he switches back to his usual Shadow-style glass cannon outfit. With preparations done, he sets out toward his next hideout. Meanwhile, outside Magic City, a soldier arrives with 4 lifespan sellers, fewer than expected. Another soldier complains, but he reminds him that fewer people are willing to trade lifespan these days. When the vehicles stop in front of the mansion, the sellers step out. One of them whistles at the sight. The house is massive, clearly owned by someone loaded. Among them, a hooded girl steps forward, saying she'll go in first to inform Lady Dongfang. Moments later, the said Lady Dongfang appears and orders the sellers to convert their lifespan into orbs and place them on the ground. One seller protests, demanding to see payment first. Her tone instantly turns icy. She tells them to obey or die, and her soldiers raise their guns in unison. The sellers shout back, accusing her of robbing people of the same class, and they launch a counterattack. One of them activates his hidden class, Insect Manipulator. A swarm of bugs bursts out, each capable of growing stronger through equipped items. He orders his allies to strip her of everything she owns. The group activates a platinum-grade defense skill, Golden Dome Barrier, wrapping themselves in a shield. Even bullets can't pierce. They follow up with Golden Call, Front Ground Quake, shaking the entire area beneath them. Gunfire rains down from all sides, but one member darts through the barrage with lightning-fast movements. A beam of light crackles from his fingertip. His hidden class becomes clear. A gunslinger who doesn't need an actual weapon. His fingers are the guns. A soldier screams in alarm about the presence of a class wielder, but before reinforcements can arrive, Ghost Shade activates her stealth ability, slipping through the chaos with blinding speed. She charges straight toward Lady Dongfang, her strike filled with deadly intent, but the blow never lands. In the next instant, a massive figure appears, catching her mid-leap and hurling her aside with raw brute force. The muscular man steps forward, warning Lady Dongfang that one of the attackers is using invisibility. She demands that all intruders be captured alive. She wants them turned into eternal slaves to feed her son's lifespan. The man silently weighs his odds, finding only a 50-50 chance of survival. As he joins the battle, one of the defenders whispers in shock about his arrival. The man notices their Ironhead skill deflecting bullets and realizes they're bandits surviving on stolen life essence. Their sheer endurance surprises him. He wonders if they've actually become strong enough to make this fight worth his time. He taunts them, but at that exact moment, the insect drone Xiaoshuan rockets forward at 200 kilometers per hour, aiming straight for his back. He senses it instantly. He drops low just before the insect drone reaches him. In a single swift motion, he catches it midair and crushes it between his feet before even landing, rising to his full height once more. He declares that a containment barrier already surrounds the area, one that captures every movement inside it. His hidden class, Plague Source, becomes clear. Energy surges from him as he propels upward, the air twisting violently around his body. Scramble reacts instinctively, throwing up an iron wall defense in sheer desperation. The man smashes back down, firing an air cannon. His heel drives straight into Scramble's skull, sending him flying backward like a rag doll. The gunslinger is ordered to open fire, while the others shout to hold the enemy back before he reaches their position. Bullets rain through the air as the man spins and twists, slipping between them effortlessly. The gunslinger sneers, mocking him. Leaping into the sky against a marksman like him means there's no escape, but the man calmly tosses something small, a whole sonic bomb. The sound rips through the air, shattering the silence and flesh alike. Blood gushes from the gunslinger's ears and mouth before he collapses lifelessly to the ground. To the attacker, the result is obvious, a level that Shallow could never endure, a sound sharper than any blade. One surviving bandit panics and tries to flee, but the man grabs his head mid-run, halting him instantly. The terrified bandit trembles, begging for mercy. Calmly, the man tells him he won't die. Lady Dongfang needs slaves, and he perfectly fits the quota. He adds confidently that the invisible intruder has already been handled by his insects. The captured bandit stares at him in shock, insisting there was no invisible ally among them. His comrades are all dead, and the figure from the vehicle was just another lifespan seller, not one of their group. Meanwhile, at the ruins on the outskirts of Magic City, the magical Bleak Tower, Shadow arrives in stealth mode and notices something unusual. There's no guardian monster at the entrance, meaning someone has already gone inside. Inside, he surveys the enormous three-dimensional maze that fills the tower's grand library. It's said that a monster once lived here, a princess cursed by the wicked white dragon. As he moves deeper, he realizes the team ahead of him has already looted everything. Then he remembers the hidden method to reach the top floor, taking a specific book from a shelf to trigger teleportation. In an instant, his body begins to glow, and he's transported to the top floor. There, he finds a team locked in battle with the Guardian, Despair Princess. He's honestly surprised they made it this far, given their poor survival rate and weak equipment. Then his gaze falls on a woman standing in the rear, and recognition hits him. This must be Fakey Heavy Industry, the group founded by Huang Huifan, who converted her real-world company assets into lifespan and hired her employees to serve under her in the game. Huang herself is an illusionist-type class capable of creating portals. She can anchor 2 portals at different points, allowing her teammates to warp back and forth during battle. Her strategy is brilliant. One portal at the respawn point, the other near the monster. That way, anyone who dies can instantly resurrect and return to reclaim their lost lifespan. This very tactic was likely what helped her guild rise to the ranks of the Grand 20 Guilds of Grand Xia in Shadow's past life. But now, facing a Platinum grade level 18 monster, Shadow knows that strategy won't work here. The monster's unique power lets it absorb lifespan at a rate 100 times faster than ordinary creatures, and convert that energy into raw physical strength. At this rate, it'll soon evolve into Emerald grade and annihilate the entire guild. That's why Shadow approaches Huang for negotiation, demanding thousands of years of lifespan and any assassin-class item drops in exchange for slaying the Guardian on their behalf. Huang Huifan instantly recognizes him. Shadow repeats his warning. They cannot win this fight. If they refuse his help, they'd better retreat right now. His blunt words enrage her son. Huang steps in to stop him, but her son refuses to back down. So Shadow attacks him directly, destroying the portal in the process. Huang demands an explanation, saying punishing her son might be understandable, but breaking the portal is excessive. Shadow calmly clarifies he did it to stop reinforcements from flooding in to feed the monster. He already knows that within minutes, the creature will evolve into an Emerald grade entity that will wipe out her entire guild, but to him, that's fine. An emerald grade monster means even greater rewards. At that moment, Ghost Shade contacts him, informing him about Lady Dongfang and gives him her exact location. He tells her he'll meet her later at the Graveyard of Bones. When they finally meet, he immediately asks what kind of class her enemy holds. She explains he's a close-range fighter with a farting-type skill, yeah, not exactly elegant, and that he can even see through stealth. That's when he realizes her enemy must be from the Plague Source class. He adds that the man likely has a first-tier plague ring, which lets him detect her even while invisible. Usually, plague users have ridiculous regeneration, basically, they're walking immortals. She asks if there's any weakness to that. He nods, saying the plague enhances the body but also amplifies desire, making them mentally unstable. Then he tells her to evolve her Blade of Netherworld, upgrading it into Tier 2, Wraith of Netherworld. That evolution will let her create illusions perfect against enemies with fragile minds. For her, that's the key to breaking this deadlock. He reminds her that only by advancing her class can she truly take revenge. She's confused. How does he even know so much about her class? But instead of answering, he asks if she's ever really explored her own trait during training. He encourages her to stay calm and focused. He finally understands how she draws her strength and decides to walk his own path the same way. Then he suggests she keep training here in the graveyard, where the monsters are perfect for grinding. But he warns, these monsters are elite types, with triple stats and HP. Still, if she strikes their weak points precisely, she can win. She watches him in awe, realizing just how powerful he really is. Before leaving, he tells her to risk everything, because that's the only way to walk the path of revenge. When he's gone, she takes a moment to think, realizing that the word revenge also stirs a dangerous killing intent inside him. Meanwhile, at the ruins of Zhanghai City, Xiaohei is completely drained after a long exploration. As she wanders around, she spots a fruit that looks like a plum. She eats it without hesitation. It's surprisingly tasty and even grants her 50 experience points. Ahead of her, more of those fruits line the path, and she greedily follows the trail. Just then, she gets a call from Anyu telling her to head to the corrupted coast because Niliang has been captured. They need her help. She agrees right away. When she checks her map, she realizes she's already near the corrupted coast, and Anyu promises to come pick her up. On the way, still chewing on another fruit, she grumbles about Niliang being a total idiot. If not for his father's reputation, no one would ever team up with him. From a cliff's edge, she spots something huge moving below. A fat creature, maybe a boss monster. She squints to get a better look, and that's when she spots Niliang lying nearby. Finally, she sees it clearly. A level 20 emerald-grade monster. Her eyes widen as it devours smaller monsters. But that's not all. It molds their flesh into grotesque meatballs. Just then, Anyu arrives beside her and asks if that's the boss. Both of them are disgusted by what they're seeing, but at least relieved it hasn't attacked any players yet. They decide to wait and observe, though deep down they're worried. Can they really take down an emerald-grade monster? Or should they call for backup? Then they notice something odd about its posture, and suddenly realize it's pooping. Xiaohei freezes as it hits her. Those plum-like fruits she's been eating. Words poop. The next moment, the boss spots them and activates Whisper of the Gluttonous Ancient God. Under that skill's effect, everyone is hit by overwhelming hunger and starts devouring the meatballs made from the monster's prey. Xiaohei, strangely enough, wonders why she's the only one not affected by the hunger compulsion. Then her eyes widen in shock as the boss swallows Niliang whole. That's when it clicks. The Soul Devourer makes players eat endlessly until they're fat enough to be eaten next. Horrified, she immediately calls Shadow, explaining the whole nightmare. Shadow, who's been busy tracking down a bloodline monster, promises he'll come right away. At this point, he already has keys to 3 other platinum-grade hideouts in Magic City, but he knows he has to handle this bloodline monster first before the Despair Princess evolves. When he finally arrives, Xiaohei frantically tells him that Meng and Anyu have already been eaten, just as they both witness the monster start to defecate. From the disgusting pile, Niliang crawls out alive, leaving Xiaohei completely horrified. Shadow, however, recognizes the creature. It's a servant of the gluttonous ancient god. Its main skill forces players into endless gluttony, making them eat until they're bloated enough to be devoured. The only way to resist that compulsion is by eating its excrement. Shadow quickly realizes that Xiaohei must have already done that, though she's way too embarrassed to admit it. She begs him, almost in tears, to save their friends. Without a moment's hesitation, he jumps down and forces the monster to swallow its own excrement. The creature gags and vomits out Meng and Anyu, still alive but shaken. Then, with flawless precision, Shadow unleashes a Shadow Slash, cutting deep into its hide. Finally, he activates his ultimate skill, Crimson Blade, and in a single devastating strike, deals millions of damage. The Soul Devourer collapses, making Shadow the first person in history to solo kill an emerald-grade monster. News spreads fast. Everyone is shocked. Some even whisper that Shadow isn't truly from Doxia, but from the Great Han Nation. Meanwhile, our boy activates the Soul Devourer bloodline he earned from the fight. This system lets players gain a monster's special abilities after defeating them. With the Soul Devourer skill, he can now consume the skills of his own class to boost his attributes. Another new ability, Ma lets him conjure a massive mouth that swallows enemy projectiles, restoring his HP and reducing incoming damage. He tests the Soul Devourer to enhance his stats, and spots a bronze-grade item drop, Poison Blade, a weapon that inflicts poison with every strike. He uses Soul Devourer on it but only gains 0 points in physical strength, which feels disappointingly low. Then he realizes it can evolve, so he spends 242 evolution points to upgrade Poison Blade all the way to legendary rank, which boosts his physical strength by 2 full points. Now that's more like it. He nods in satisfaction, feeling the surge of power settle in.